Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the WZWA Network podcast here on YouTube and all podcast platforms. I am your host with the most, Karlifornia Infirri. It's great to be with you once again. And here today, I'm very excited. There's a guy that we have on the show right now that I've been trying to get on the show for a few months. Schedules weren't lining up very well. And then it was the silly season, Christmas time and all that. But finally, we've got ourselves organized here today. He is former five-time IWA Mid-South Heavyweight Champion and former three-time WWC Tag Team Champion in the Texas Hangman. He is the one and only Bull Payne. Bull, how are you, mate?
Holy cow. Oh, you made me sound way better than I am, brother. Or than I was, you know.
Well, you have a few accolades there, Bull. You won several championships in different places.
Hey, you forgot one, though. You forgot my light heavyweight championship in IWA, too.
Right, yes. I think you won a few things over there in IWA, which we will certainly talk about at some stage. But, Bull, the first question I always ask everyone on the show is, how did you become a wrestling fan when you were a young man?
All right. I lived in a little town called Sussex, Wisconsin. All right. And it's a very small town. But AWA wrestling, for some reason, was a big thing. And we watched it every Sunday. We'd get home from church, rush into the house, throw our clothes all over the place. Mom and Dad be yelling at us to pick our stuff up, and we didn't care. We just had to turn on the TV and watch AWA wrestling, which was, of course, Vern Gagne and the Crusher and the Bruiser and some very amazing legends in the business. So that's what hooked me to the business.
Cool. So you were bit by the bug of wrestling when you were a young man, and obviously at some point you made the decision this is what you wanted to do with your life. Is that right?
Yeah. You know, the funny thing is I got real heavy into martial arts in my late teens and early 20s, and I actually was shit on the wrestling business. I actually kind of thought, that's a bunch of phony bullshit. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to pay attention to that anymore. And then all of a sudden, I guess it was an inside love or a deep love for me. And before I knew it, I was knocking on the door trying to get in.
Excellent. So training, I believe you were trained by somebody named Tom Stone. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was trained by a number of guys, but the main two guys that trained me was Tom Rocky Stone and Jake the Milkman Milliman.
Right. Awesome. So how was that experience?
You know, it was a crazy experience because what I did was I went down to this little town hall where they used to run a show one Sunday a month. And I went there like probably 3 or 4 Sundays. So that's 3 or 4 months. And then I finally got the nerve to talk to somebody, which is really crazy because it was Mike, who ended up being my tag team partner in my career, because Mike was already in the business of a little bit before I was. And I talked to Mike, and then he kind of swerved me over to Tom Stone. And then I talked to Tom, and they kind of blew me off, you know, just whatever. And he gave me his number, but every time I called it, he was never there, or he was busy, or he couldn't answer the phone. I mean, I was calling him daily for a long time, till finally he actually would answer the phone. And then he talked to me a little bit, and he blew me off a little bit. It was a lengthy process before I actually even got to actually meet him face to face.
Right. Well, everyone's got their stories of how difficult it was early on trying to get into the business. I believe you debuted in Milwaukee in 1984 under the ring name of Rick Golden, facing a man by the name of Lance Atlas in your first match. Is that right?
That's probably pretty correct, yeah. But it was Ricky Golden, but don't forget the wildfire part. It was Ricky Wildfire Golden, brother.
Can't forget that.
That's the important part, brother. Ricky Wildfire Golden. And yeah, Lance Atlas. Lance was a very muscular ex-bodybuilder, and he had a little bit of knowledge of the business. He was not very. He wasn't very good, but he was a great guy, and putting me in him with him was really chemistry for a disaster. It was just bad. But I think what happened was somebody didn't show, and they said, "Okay, kid, you're on," and I was like, "All right, let's do it," And Lance, God bless his heart, God bless him. He put up with me because I know I was horrible. There's no doubt I was horrible, and he wasn't that talented anyways. So I'm sure that match was absolutely an abortion.
Yeah, well, most first matches probably aren't supposed to be an all-time classic. So after your early days, you end up adopting the ring name of Rick Gantner, which leads you into 1987. You spend a little bit of time there in the WWF. What was that experience like, going from, the humble beginnings as Ricky Wildfire Golden and to becoming Rick Gantner, and now you're suddenly on WWF television?
Well, the funny thing is, buddy, I changed my name because back in those days, doing outlaw shows, which are called indies now, they were frowned upon by the big companies because they felt that you were breaking kayfabe and just teaching the business to people that didn't need to be learning the business. So I remember I was driving up to my first TV in Minneapolis for AWA for Vern, and Tom Stone looked at me and said, "Hey, you better come up with a different name. You can't use Ricky Golden, because if they find out you're Ricky Golden and your name has been on posters around Milwaukee and stuff, you're going to get some heat, and even they might shoot on you and they might stretch you." So I had RG on my tights, on my trunks already. So I had to come up with something RG. So I happened to be looking through the Milwaukee Journal, and it was a sports page, and the Milwaukee Brewers, which is our baseball team, was on the headlines, and it said Rick Gantner, who was the second baseman for the Milwaukee Brewers, did some amazing play. And I saw RG, Rick Gantner. I said, "That's my name, Rick Gantner." That's how I got the Rick Gantner name.
Awesome, man. So how did you find the time in the WWF in the late 80s there? Must have been interesting.
I loved it, buddy. It was amazing. We got treated better than some of the regular guys. It was great. They gave us a rental car. They paid for our hotel. We got to eat the brunch, and they paid us cash every night. It was wonderful, dude. I mean, they treated us just as good as the regular stars, if not better. And they were so good to me so many times over. I got to do some of the extra matches, like the hair match with Brutus Beefcake and the snake match with Jake the Snake. And if you did some of they'd gimmick matches, they'd throw you a few extra $100 too for doing that. So Chief Jay Strongbow was the one who ran the Jabroni side, which was us, the enhancement talent. He took care of us. So I always would go up to Chief and tell him, "Man, Chief, I'm really hurting for some money. Is there any way I can get some of these extra matches?" And he'd throw me one or two, and so I'd make some extra money. So I'd come home after a 2 or 3 day run with WWF with some good money,
That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, I totally forgot about those little incentives if you put your hair up against Brutus or things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you
got
to do what you got to do.
Yeah, the funny thing was I really didn't have a lot of hair anyways, but I had this real long rat tail down my back, which I thought was cool for some reason. But so because Brutus didn't want to do it. He goes, "He doesn't even have any hair to cut." And I said, "We can cut this tail off. He can cut my tail off, And he finally settled for it, but he wasn't real happy about it.
Well, if he wouldn't have been able to use the shears if you didn't have any hair. At least there was a rat tail there. So 1990, this is exciting. I want to know about the creation of the Texas Hangman gimmick and what led you to think about this and think about teaming up with Mike Moran, the guy that helped you a few years prior get your foot in the door, I suppose you could say. tell me a little bit about the Texas Hangman idea and also getting Mike on board.
All right. Well, the Texas Hangman idea was definitely my idea, and the reason I liked it so much was, well, what I came up with it was, first of all, I thought, because I had been Rick Gantner for a number of years on nationwide TV and getting beat by everybody, that I had to hide my face. If I didn't hide my face, they were never going to think, the fans would never think of me any more than just a jabroni, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I was a huge fan of Mil Mascaras. And I really loved that he wore the mask, and then he'd wear a mask over the top of his mask. So that's why we came out with the executioner hood, and then we'd pull it off, and then we'd have the mask underneath that.
Right.
So that was kind of, I stole that from Mil Mascaras, and then I put the whole gimmick together. I don't know. I've just been always a creative kind of guy, anyways, and I just put the whole gimmick together. And originally, I was just going to do it, and then I started thinking to myself, man, do I really want to go on the road by myself? Because there's a lot of things that can happen to you when you're by yourself and you're green. The boys take advantage of you pretty badly sometimes. And it can be funny and it can be cruel. So I thought, what better way to go out on the road than go as a tag? So then I asked Mike, who Mike's been my friend forever and ever, and well, we'll be friends till the day we die, you know.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. The funny thing is, we always are fighting. I guess we're like brothers or something.
Of course.
We're too close, you know. We get upset with each other over the stupidest shit, and then we won't talk to each other. And it's like, really, sometimes we act like a bunch of kids. It's ridiculous, but I love him to death, and he's a good guy. But anyways, I asked Mike, and he didn't want to do it at first, because at the time Mike was very limited on funds. He was living in just a little 1-bedroom efficiency place, and he had a job. I think he was working security at a bank, and he just wasn't making a lot of money. So to come up with some of my gimmick, the leather chaps and the vest and the boots and all that stuff, that's hundreds of dollars that he just didn't have. So he didn't want to do it, but I kept bugging him, and eventually he caved, and then we went out and bought the stuff and put the gimmick together. The funny thing is, we wore boots. Like, we took 2 pairs of boots and made 1 pair out of them. You kind of understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We each gave each other 1 boot.
Right.
So, because Mike didn't have any, he only had 1 good boot. The rest, his other boot was not very in terrible shape, and I had a brand new pair of boots, and I thought, well, fuck it, I just gave him 1 of my boots, and then I had another black boot, a plain black boot. So then that's how we did it, and people thought that was some cool way of hiding our identity or something, but really it had nothing to do with it. It was just we just didn't have 2 good sets of boots put together between us. So we just had to improvise.
Right, cool. So how was the initial reaction, and when you first debuted the gimmick, and you're now doing something completely different? How's the reaction from the audience when you're doing it, and also how did you, I guess, adapt to now you're wearing a mask when you wrestle, when you're used to not wearing one at all?
Well, the crowd reaction was really good. In fact, it was kind of amazing, because it comes across as an intimidating gimmick, and it got the point across right away from day one, and which was really cool. We just had to learn how to work like executioners then, because we had been doing jobs for all these years to go from being a jabroni or a carpenter to a guy going over. There's a little transition there that you have to make, because your brain is programmed just to take bumps and make everybody look good. Now you have to be given the bumps.
Yeah.
And, so it's a different mindset. and that took a little bit to get together, but as the as the time progressed, the gimmick just fell together so perfectly. It was really an amazing gimmick, but also me and Mike worked together so well. It was like we had been tagging together for years when we really hadn't, but we'd been around the same guys our whole early career, and we were trained by the same guys, so we kind of all had the same mindset.
Right, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I can imagine back then that certainly a gimmick like that would definitely turn some heads. I want to ask you about working for Vern Gagne and any experiences that you can share about working for him.
Vern, God bless him. God rest his soul. Did you hear about where he killed that guy in the nursing home?
Yeah.
He body slammed him and killed him.
Yeah.
But luckily he didn't get charged with it because of his dementia and stuff.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Both Vern and Greg took really good care of me in the AWA. Greg was so good to me. I got when I was even Rick Gantner, I got so many house bookings that a lot of the other guys never had the opportunity to get. For some reason, they saw something in me, which thank God they did, and I was able to work with a lot of guys in singles matches during my early years. Like I was married to Brad Riggins for forever. I thought, we were attached at the hip there for a little while, and the man, Brad, he's such an athlete, and he trained so many good Olympic wrestlers and stuff. And here I am, I'm not even close to an Olympic wrestler, and he could have dropped me on my head and tied me in 100 knots without even thinking about
it. Yeah.
But he put up with me, and he helped me. But AWA was good to me. I got no complaints. They never owed me any money. They never ripped me off of any money. They always took care of me, and that's all I care about,
Yeah, cool, man. Well, that's good to know that the experience there was so fruitful and you looked after. One thing I always find interesting to ask anyone about that was in the AWA is, how you felt about the later stages of the company and how I guess they were trying to figure out ways to keep themselves, I guess, competitive with what was going on with WCW and the WWF. I know they were doing they're coming up with some very, grand ideas. What did you think about how things were going with the company?
Well, I'm going to step back to your your question previous, because I meant to tell you this story.
Sure.
You got to catch me. You got to catch me because I'll ramble on, and you got to just put the brakes on me. Tell me to dial it down a couple notches once in a while.
Sure.
But when I was working for Vern, he was very kayfabe oriented. You have to understand this. I mean, kayfabe meant the world to him, and you could get easily fired for breaking kayfabe. So one time I had to come up to Minneapolis, and I was just by myself in a singles match, and I had to work a man named Paul New. You know who that is?
PN News.
Yes. Okay. Now this is before he even got in the business. Do you know what the Guardian Angels were?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he was part of the Guardian Angels, and it was a big movement back then. And the mayor brought him and the Guardian Angels out to the ring for some promotional thing. And they wanted to use, and he was like 400 pounds. And they wanted to use him as to show, I guess, to show how tough the Guardian Angels were, or something to that extent. But he wasn't smart to the business at all. Didn't know nothing about it.
Right.
So Vern takes me aside and says, "Look, I want you to work with this guy. He knows nothing about the business, and I don't want you to smarten him up at all." And now you're talking about a 400-pound man. Okay. I mean, if he slips and falls, he's going to break something on you,
Yeah.
So, anyways, we got into before I went to the ring, Michael Hayes of the Freebirds says to me, because Vern wanted me to get beat by a splash. Okay. Now this guy doesn't know how to do a splash. So I'm getting all 400 pounds on top of me. There's no doubt about that. You're just getting squashed. So Michael Hayes says to me, he goes, brother. He goes, do yourself a favor and cross your hands across your chest and sit up just a little bit so when he splashes you, he doesn't break your ribs. It was like, geez, thanks, thanks for the confidence there, brother. I really appreciate that one. That'll be in the back of my head the entire match, you know, so I don't get my ribs broken. Yeah. Well, anyways, the bell rang and I locked up with him. I took him in the corner and I chopped the piss out of him. And I got into his ear and I said, look, we can have it this way or we can have it nice and easy. What do you want? And he said, nice and easy. I said, sounds good to me. Just listen to me. And we went through it. We had a horrible but passable match. And he hit me with the splash and it was all good.
All right. So did you feel the full force of that splash? Would you?
Oh, yeah. He squashed me so bad that had I not went to the bathroom beforehand, I guarantee I would have probably shit my pants.
I guess in that instance, for a short time, you were ball pancake.
Yeah, definitely. There was when he hit me with that, I just remember going, oh my God. But I laid there for a second and you kind of start wiggling stuff to see if you're injured, before you get up. And I was all right. So I was happy about that. And Vern was happy. So that's all that counted.
Awesome, man. Great story. So again, back to the later stages of the AWA when you guys are still there. How did you feel about what was going on with the business at that time in the company?
The sad thing is you could really see the writing on the wall because they weren't drawing houses anymore. And a lot of the guys had left. A lot of the top guys were gone. And it was week to week, guys were leaving, So you never knew what was actually going to happen by the next TV. So we kind of knew it was starting to go under, and just all you can do is just go roll with the flow. When I thought of the booking, it was kind of silly. A lot of the stuff was like the Survivor Team Challenge thing.
Yeah,
that was pretty lame, dude. Very lame. And then in the team challenge, I had to work Scott Norton one time in a singles, and we were tied together with a rope of some sort, and he refused. He didn't want to work with me. He said he's too small. Scott Norton he's a big man and a very strong man, no doubt about it. But for some reason, he just did not want to work with me, and I'm sure it's because he still looked at me as an enhancement guy because I had done jobs for him, just a couple of years earlier. So he wasn't very easy to deal with, but that's just how it went, I guess.
I understand. Yeah, it tends to happen a lot in the wrestling business, from what I've at least heard on this podcast.
This is the problem. This is the problem. When you're in the wrestling business, you check your ego at the door. If you have an ego, the ego is going to consume you, and it's eventually going to ruin your career.
Yeah. So I know you spend a little bit of time in Mexico post AWA. You want to tell me a little bit about how that opportunity came about and any stories that you've got from your experience in Mexico?
Mexico was wonderful. I got booked into Mexico through a friend of mine named Giant Warrior. I met him in Puerto Rico, and so I got booked in. It was for Carlos Maynes. I can't remember the letters for his group, but they ran
IWA?
Arena Mexico. They ran Arena Mexico all the time, and they were definitely one of the bigger organizations for Mexico. And in fact, I think they might have been the biggest because they brought in a lot of stars like Doug Furness, Phil LaFont, Bam Bam Bigelow, Bad News Brown, Too Cold Scorpio, Chris Benoit. He had quite a roster there.
Right.
And they brought me in, and what a shock, a culture shock it was to me, because Mexican wrestling and American wrestling are two different ball games.
Absolutely.
And it's crazy. It's just so. I remember that's the first time I ever saw guys in the back walking through their match, and I thought it was funny, and I started laughing at them, and they got really pissed. And I'm thinking, oh God, don't you guys just call it on the fly?
Yeah, right, of course.
Because that's how I was trained, that you call it. And these guys, no, they walk through the entire thing, chops and everything. They walk through the entire match,
Oh my
probably
gosh.
5 times, 6 times before they go out and do their thing. And to me, for some reason, it just struck me as hilarious. So I'm laughing my ass off at them, and they did not like that very much at all.
I think the company you were thinking of is called the Universal Wrestling Association, the UWA.
Oh, it's very possible. Carlos Maynes, like I said, Carlos Maynes ran it, and he was a super guy. Super guy. I got some stories for that. We had this. We all the American talent all rode in this Volkswagen van. Okay, and so you got me, Doug Furness, Phil LaFont, Bam Bam Bigelow. All big guys sitting in this tiny little van. So we're all crushed in this van. And then you got the driver who was, I think he was Carlos's nephew. I can't remember his name, but he was crazy as fuck. Yeah, and he used to drink like a fish. And we go up into some of these towns, up into the mountains. And I mean, if you looked over the edge of the road, it was like a 300-foot drop, and he's drinking, and he's got the Mexican music playing, and he's swerving all over the roads on the way home. I can't tell you how many times I just tried to force myself to go to sleep, and just hope that we made it back to the hotel. It was horrifying.
I can imagine.
It was terrible, dude. Scary. It was a very scary moment. If he was driving and he had a bottle of tequila beside him, you knew. Oh my God. Hope to God we make it home tonight, And another time, me, Phil LaFont, Doug Furness, and I think that was the American talent. Well, we worked a 6-man with Tejano and Silver King, and I can't remember the name of the third guy, but we got heat. In fact, we got too much heat to the point where riots were starting and stuff. So we actually had to almost fight our way back to the dressing room. Then when we got into the van to leave, the fans circled the van and started rocking the van.
Oh no!
And I remember they almost got it to turn over on us. And me and Doug Furness is a pretty big dude,
Yeah.
And we're looking at each other going, well, if we don't get out of this van and they turn it over sideways, we're all fucked, So just as we were about ready to get out of the van, here came the cops, and they started shooting their guns off in the air, and the people scattered, which saved us from getting turned over. But we were on our way to get turned over on the side for sure.
Oh my gosh, it's a wild time down there, that's for sure.
The people get so into it, just like Puerto Rico, in Puerto Rico too. They get so into it, and they get so emotionally involved that even though it gets scary, it's really a lot of fun, because you think to yourself, wow, I was able to do this to these people. I got them that upset, So it's kind of a rewarding experience, even though it's scary as hell,
Absolutely. I believe you mentioned to me that you have a Mil Mascara story that you'd like to tell.
I got a couple of them, but this is a funny one. We're going, I think, like maybe Guatemala or some city down in South America, and we had to take a plane, which was, I don't know, it was a prop plane, like it was like a rubber band plane, really. It only seated like 10, maybe 12 people. And for some reason, I got there like really late, to the point where I couldn't even check my bag. I just had to run straight through, run to the plane, throw my bag up, and they just put it between the pilots and, on the floor by the pilot's feet. And I got on the plane, and I get on the plane. I'm looking around, and I don't see anyone I recognize at all. But there's only a couple seats left, and I'm walking down the aisle, and all of a sudden this really nice looking man in a suit says, "Sit down here, brother." And I said, "Okay, thank you, I appreciate it." Because he spoke English, that was cool. At least I was going to have someone I could talk English to, because I don't speak very much Spanish.
Yeah,
it's very broken at best,
Yeah.
So I'm talking to him. We're talking. The flight is going on, and we're talking about all kinds of things. And all of a sudden, I realize I know this voice. I know this voice. And I'm thinking about it. And all of a sudden I realize, holy fuck, I'm sitting next to Mil Mascaras without his mask on.
Oh,
you know, and are you there?
yeah.
Okay. And I'm thinking of holy fuck. I mean, because Mil Mascaras kayfabed everybody. He even showered with his hood on. He what at the building, you would never see him without his hood on. Never. So I thought that was pretty cool that I actually got to see Mil without his hood on. And we got to be really good friends. And he wanted me to come down and work in, because he did quite a few of these like superhero movies.
Yeah.
And he wanted me to come down and be a villain in one of his movies, but for some reason it never panned out. And well, you know, it's because at that time there wasn't the internet, you know, so it was all by phone. So very, very easy to lose touch of people when you didn't have the internet. But yeah, that's one of my Mil Mascaras stories. I was pretty proud that I was able to see him without his hood on, because I had worked him a couple times before that, and I had never seen him without his hood. So that was kind of a big moment for me, because I was a big fan of his when I was a kid.
Right. And it's funny that you mentioned that, like, he's just on the plane without a mask. It's almost like because nobody knew what he looked like. Now, him not wearing a mask is actually protecting his identity, as opposed to if he actually wore the mask, then everyone would know that it was him. So
exactly. And he was such a nice man. I got to go to his apartment in Mexico, and yeah, he was just really a nice guy. We got along really well. A lot of people talk bad about Mil, but I never had a bad experience with him. But I think the problem with Mil was, in Mexico, he's such a superstar. And then he would come up to America, and a lot of the guys didn't respect, you know, his like level of, I don't know, his legendary level or whatever. And they wouldn't sell for him like he kind of wanted you to sell or expected you to sell. And I knew from working with guys like Jerry Lawler and stuff like that, when you're working with a legend, if he punches you, you fly into the third row of chairs, you know. You know, you put him over, and then he's going to like you, and then you're going to have good matches, and before you know it, he might even ask for you, you know, and then you're going to make more money, obviously, if you're working the top guys. So, you know, there's a little psychology, a little method to my madness there. So I remember we're one of my first matches with him, it might have been the first match. I took him outside the ring, and I had him take over on me, and I went to throw him into the chairs, and I said, reverse it. And I took a gigantic flip into the chairs, and I busted up a bunch of chairs and stuff like that. And he really liked that. When I came back, he goes, "Oh, brother, are you okay?" I said, "I'm fine." He goes, "That was awesome." You know, and so he might not have said awesome. He probably said that was cool or something, but
yeah.
You know, I got myself over with him, and like I said, I had a bunch of matches with him. I worked with his brother, Joose Karlifornia, and I worked with a bunch of the guys that were top hooded guys, the Viano brothers. I worked with oh my God! See, this is why
Silver King and
I worked at
Dr. Wagner Jr.
Yeah, no, I want to apologize to the fans that if I forget some names, understand I fractured my skull back in like '96 when I was working Ted Petty, and I never, you know, went to the hospital or anything, and it was really a bad thing, and I have memory loss from it. So if I forget names and stuff, I might remember them later as we're talking, and I'll try to throw them in there and get back to the story that I originally meant to talk about. So.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to try and help as much as I possibly can. I've got a few things open on my computer here that I can refer to. So,
well, think of it as a Quentin Tarantino movie. You know, we'll jump back and forth from scene to scene to scene.
Also, in preparation for this interview, you had sent me information that, you know, you had a Bad News Brown story. I'm not sure if this was in conjunction with you being in Mexico or not, but
yes.
Yep. Okay, cool.
I got two stories for Bad News, but first story I'll tell you is This is my first tour, and I'm working a 6-man, me, Bad News, and Giant Warrior. We're working against, I want to say the Viano brothers, because it seems like whenever I was in a 6-man, I worked with the Viano brothers or Tejano and Silver King. But Bad News Brown, I had never met him before, but I knew of him. And, he's a very bad man. He's a legit shooter. He's a silver medalist in the Olympics for judo. I mean, the man had some credentials. And we were just kind of joking around and bullshit and stuff. And he goes, "Yeah, this is your first time?" I remember the week starts on a Sunday for wrestling. That's the big show in Mexico. And I started on a Sunday. So we were in Arena, Mexico, big show, working in a 6-man. And he looks at me and he goes, "You ever work here? You ever worked before?" I go, "No, I've never been to Mexico before." He goes, "Oh, so the altitude's going to get you. Be careful." I said, "I'm fine." I'm fine. I'm in good shape. My cardio's strong. He said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I'll bet you dinner tonight that you blow up before the third round," because they go by rounds. 1 round, 2 round, 3 round,
Yeah.
And he said, you'll blow up before the second round. I said, "No way, dude. I'm in great shape." He said, "All right." So anyways, we're out there. I'm standing on the apron. Now, I don't realize this, but the rings in Mexico are as hard as your driveway. They're boxing rings. They're not wrestling rings. So when you take a bump in that ring, it is brutal. But I'm watching all these guys taking these rolling bumps, like these old man bumps. And I'm thinking to myself, what a bunch of pussies. Don't even know how to take bumps, And Bad News tags me and he says, "Hip toss." I go, "You want to see a hip toss? I'm going to show you a hip toss, brother." So I went in there and took this big giant hip toss and hit the mat, and it knocked the wind clean out of me. Nice. All I remember is going, and the air is so thin, I could never catch my breath. I could never get it back. So for the rest of that match, I crawled under the ring probably 2 or 3 times and barfed my guts out because I couldn't get my air back. Needless to say, Bad News got a free dinner that night. And of course, he's standing on the ring apron laughing his ass off. "Oh, what's wrong, brother? What's wrong?" "But you're in top shape." Another story I got about Bad News is we were in one of the bigger cities in Mexico, and a riot broke out. I mean, this was a serious one. And Bad News says, okay, brother. He says, "We got to get back to the dressing room." He said, "If we stand out here, we're going to end up getting killed." I said, "Okay." So what do you want me to do? He says, "You just follow me, stay close by me, and we're going to get to that dressing room." Dude, he ripped through them people like a buzzsaw. That man was throwing people around like they were rag dolls, chopping them, kicking them, throwing them. It was unbelievable. I was almost like a fan just watching a guy whooping ass, as we're running to the dressing room. It was incredible. It was. We got to the back, and I went, "Damn, brother, you didn't have to take it that serious." He said, "Did you want to get to the dressing room or not?" I said, "All right, thank you so much." Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that.
The legend that is Bad News Brown. Fantastic.
Hey, I heard that Andre the Giant backed down from Bad News Brown, and he only backed down from like 2 or 3 people in his whole career.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's why he's called Bad News.
I think Bad News and Bill Eadie are the only 2 guys that I know of that he backed down from.
Wow. Amazing. So I wanted to bring this over to talk a little bit about Puerto Rico, which obviously, again, another wild wrestling country to be in. The Texas Hangmen are just doing big business there, selling out big shows, just killing it over there. Tell me about your experience in Puerto Rico.
I don't know if Mike told you this, but when they first booked us, they just booked us to come in for 2 weeks. All right, we were just going to come in and out.
Yeah,
I guess because they wanted to see the gimmick and see what the fans' reaction was and all that stuff. Okay, so this guy named Felix picks us up from the airport. He's one of the boys. worked as maybe El Fantastico or something like that. But he picks us up at the airport. Of course, we're late. We're always late. And he picks us up, and we're driving to Puerto Rico to the office. We're going to the office. When we get to, and on the way to the office now, we get in a car wreck. Okay, somebody hits his car. The bumper actually falls off the car, and we're like, "Oh my God, we just got hit!" We're freaking out because we're Americans. So, oh man, we're really gonna be late now. We got to call the cops and wait for the cops. And well, that's not how it works in Puerto Rico. He just picked his bumper up, threw it in the back seat, and we just went out to the office. It was like no big deal to him. It was like
wow,
just like any day. He's like, oh well, I got hit. Oh well, we're just freaking out. We're going, oh my God, did you just see that? So we're kind of freaking out about that, and then we get there, and now this is where I'm gonna mess up, but I'm gonna try not to mess up. Who was the guy that ran FMW?
Onita.
Yes. Okay. Anita is there, and they're doing an angle with Jose Gonzalez about the killing of Brody.
Right.
Okay. And what it was they wanted to start a big thing and bring Gonzalez over to Japan, thinking that it would be a big box office draw.
Right.
Well, anyways, as soon as we get to the studio, they just push us into this little tiny like janitor's closet and say, stay here. We're kind of peeking out the crack, looking, and we're going, oh my God, what's going on? Well, we hear all this fighting and craziness going on. And then ambulance comes and the EMTs are taking out Onita Mr. Pogo, taking out Mr. Pogo on a stretcher. You know who Mr. Pogo is?
Yeah.
Amazing guy. Super, super talented guy. Loved him to death, man. He was wonderful. The man who could work a sickle like it was an extension of his arm, dude. It was incredible. Because he could swing that at your forehead full blast, and you just kind of squint your eyes and go, oh my God, this is going to hurt. And he barely touched you.
Yeah.
He was very talented and such a nice man. But anyways, I think it was Pogo. It's either Pogo or Anita, because I think Pogo was going to actually work Onita in Japan first before Gonzalez went. So I now realize I might have some of this mixed up, but I'm trying to give you the gist of the story.
Yeah, that's fine.
So anyways, that's all going on, and all of a sudden we see Pogo he's laying on the gurney, and we're looking out, and he's laying on the gurney. All of a sudden, he looks around, doesn't see nobody, pulls out a blade and gigs his stomach wide open. And I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on here? And it was just craziness, dude. And finally that ended, and then we got to meet the guys and everything, and then we had to shoot a couple of interviews before we went to the building to actually do the match. But
right,
what a crazy way to start your night. You start your day in Puerto Rico.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've been in a wreck. We've seen guys gigging their stomachs wide open. We've seen EMTs all over the place. I mean, it was craziness. You just have to realize this is from two young guys that have really never been anywhere quite yet, and we've really never seen much quite yet. So this is total overload of our circuits. We're just freaking the fuck out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and eventually you guys end up, becoming 3-time tag team champions there. So they must have liked what they saw.
Yeah. Well, see, what happened was they had us work. And then the weird thing was at the end of the 2 weeks, they gave us the belts from the Medicos. We worked the Medicos, and they gave us the belts. And me and Mike are looking at each other like, why did they give us the belts? We're going home.
Yeah.
And then obviously then they called us and we want you to come back. We'll give you $1,500 a week. We'll pay for this. We'll pay for that. We'll pay for this. And it was like, well, because me and Mike both had full-time jobs, and I had a wife, a wonderful wife who I fucked that up, but that's all on my own stupidity. But she was a wonderful girl, and I fucked that up with the business. But so they called us back and said, no, we want you to come back. And they offered all this stuff to us. And Mike called me. He goes, brother, what do you want to do? I said, fuck, let's go for it. So that was really the I wouldn't say the start of the hangman career, because in the AWA we never got beat. I think we did maybe one job the whole time in AWA, and they were building up to us and the destruction crew fighting for the belts, but the company ended up closing before that happened.
Right.
So, so we decided we quit our jobs and went to Puerto Rico.
Wow. So I guess you're there for a while, and you guys become a pretty big act there. How was that experience?
I can watch a tape from when we turned our first TV where we hung Jose Gonzalez and beat up Carlos Colon.
And, what a way to start! Did
you ever see that one?
No, I haven't. Brother, but I think I know it's on YouTube somewhere.
Right. Well, that was the most amazing thing probably ever in my whole entire career that happened, because of the fact that the people absolutely they were gone. They were Looney Tunes. The place erupted. And then, TNT, Savio Vega?
Mm.
Do you know who TNT Savio Vega is?
Yeah, big fan.
Yeah. Well, he's an amazing worker. Absolutely incredible. I put him with the best of any of them. He's that talented at what he does. Anyways, he was the top heel at the time. And while Carlos is out on the floor, and me and Mike and Jose Gonzalez, we're hanging him in the ring, TNT standing in the corner of the ring and just kind of like overseeing the situation. And then all of a sudden he turns babyface and kicks the shit out of me and Mike. Well, the place absolutely goes Looney Tunes.
Oh, wow.
And the electricity, brother, just talking about it makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up, because we had to wait a good 3 hours after that match before we could even leave the building, because the people were that hot about it.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. I love that heat in Puerto Rico that some people can draw. That's amazing.
Oh, and of course you got to realize we had Eric Embry, who was the booker, who was a master of getting heat. He knew how to get heat. And we had El Profi was our manager, who I think without him, we wouldn't have got over quite as well as we did on the island, because Profi he's just a great manager. He was a great worker. He had a great career, and he knew how to talk to the people to get them upset about the Texas Hangman. In fact, Profi one time told me, he said, because he's managed for a long time there, he said, us and the Sheep Herders are by far the two most over tag teams that ever were on that island, which I think that's quite an honor to me anyway.
Absolutely, without a doubt. What led to you guys leaving Puerto Rico at the time that you did?
This is the problem about Puerto Rico. It's a thing called rock fever. You start getting kind of, it's only 180 miles long by like 90 miles wide. It's not a very big place. So you start kind of, I don't know, getting claustrophobic or something. And, then the office the business was starting to go down a little bit, and the office wanted to start cutting our pay. And Eric Embry was leaving, going to USWA, and he said, hey guys, if you want a job, I got you a job over in America. And Jeff Jarrett had come in a couple of times, in and out, and he had told us that they'd love to have us in Tennessee. And sorry, that's the leaf blower guy.
That's all right.
He'll be out of here in a second. So we had we were kind of fed up with Puerto Rico and their politics, and so we kind of just said, we got to get out of here. And they wanted us to drop our hoods too, and that was just totally against both of our beliefs. We were like,
yeah, no
way, we are not going to show our faces to the people. We're just not going to do it. So even though the night we were supposed to drop our hoods, we dropped our hoods, but underneath we wore nylons on our face, so nobody could see our face after they took the hoods off anyways. And they were pissed. They didn't even pay us for the last week of work because of that.
And I believe you and Mike both kept your tag belts. Is that right?
No, that was Tommy and Mike. They kept their tag belts.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough.
Tag belts. No, I don't have a tag belt. So they were pissed about that big time. But I felt at that time in my career to be demasked and then the picture all over the magazines, that would kill off our gimmick, because everybody would look back and go, oh, that's just Rick Gantner and Mike Madigan, two jabronis from AWA,
Yeah, well, I mean, you're now no longer executioners, you're no longer hangman, you're just two guys. Like, why would you want your gimmick killed like that and have it all over the magazines? Of course not.
Right. So
you got to protect your business.
We did that as kind of a preventive thing, and it ended up costing us money, but I think it was the right thing to do in the long run.
Yeah, and you did mention USWA, so Jarrett wanted you there. The booker was moving over to there to do the job there as well. How was your USWA experience from the outset?
All right. USWA was a ball buster at best. Okay. If you went to USWA, be prepared to lose money and starve. There's no money there. The only people that make money were the Jarretts and the Lawlers, and a couple of there's probably 4 or 5 guys that made money, and the rest, you make $350 a week, whether you're the tag champs or whether you're the opening match. It don't matter. And it was just, you're putting 2,000 miles a week on your car. You're deciding, can I stay in a hotel tonight or do I want to eat? So it's a tough place to work. The only good thing about it is you work probably every silly match that's ever been invented, and you'll get experience that way. But if you think you're going to make some money, no. But here's a funny story about me and Mike in the USWA. Well, we get there. In fact, they're not even running the Coliseum anymore because the houses are down so bad. They're running this smaller building beside the Coliseum called the Pipkin Building. And it's me and Mike and Dr. Tom Pritchard against Lawler, Jarrett, and a guy named son of a bitch. What's that strut that everybody does? The Southern guys do? Fargo.
Yeah, the Fargo strut, yeah.
And Jesse Fargo's in there. All right. Well, you got to realize this is before the internet. Okay. So all me and Mike know Mike's a little bit more knowledgeable about wrestlers than I am, but all I know is AWA and the Northern guys. Okay. So just, Fargo is a total Southern guy, and I've never even heard of him. So I look across. Now, this is when we had separate dressing rooms. All we know is the finish, and we're going to the ring. But before that, Eric Embry takes us aside and goes, guys, now I brought you over here because I liked what you did in Puerto Rico, and that's exactly what I want you to do I want you to do here. I want you to be tough, ass kickers, and if anybody complains about it, they can come to the booker and talk to me about it. Okay, if that's what you want. Booker's your boss, Yeah. So we said, sure. So we get to the ring, and I look across the ring, and I see Jeff Jarrett, Jerry Lawler, and then some old guy. I don't know that's Jackie Fargo. I don't know when Jackie Fargo punches you, you're supposed to fly into the 5th row of chairs. I don't know that he's like probably the biggest legend besides Jerry Lawler to ever come out of USWA. I don't know that. And I don't think Mike knew it either. So the match starts and we're doing our thing, and it's time for us to get our heat. So I'm thinking, well, let's take the heat on the old guy, because obviously you don't want to take it on King and you don't want to take it on Jeff Jarrett. So we started taking the heat on on Fargo. Well, every time I'm like power slamming him, and I'm giving him the kitchen sink, brother. I'm banging him all over the place, suplexing him, power slamming him, big elbows, the whole deal. And every time I'm doing something to him, he's cussing, motherfucker. And so I tag Mike and I go, Mike, this old guy's a crabby motherfucker. God damn. He is not happy what's going on. I can't figure it out. And I'm trying to talk to him while we're out there working, but all he's doing is just cussing me. Fuck you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, well, okay, I'm going to work. I'm working. Whether you want to take it or not, it doesn't matter. You're taking it. So we bumped him all over the place. Now Tom Pritchard is laughing so hard that he's fallen off the ring apron, and he can't even get in the match because he's just laughing that hard that we're beating the shit out of this USWA legend like he's just a jabroni. I mean, we literally just stomped the guts out of this guy. So of course the match is over, and then we come to the back and we're in different dressing rooms, and this guy is screaming so loud in the other dressing room that we can hear it through the vents. He's cussing us like dogs, and Eric Embry and everybody, they're just laughing their asses off. So we buried ourselves before we even got to the territory.
Wow.
It was crazy. So needless to say, that territory, we didn't last very long in that territory. I think we were a total of 2 months, maybe 2.5 months there.
Right. So I did interview Mike. I did interview PG-13. So I wanted to see if I could get your story on what happened that led to the Texas Hangman leaving USWA.
There's a lot of now this contributes to my skull fracture because I don't remember a lot, and Mike and me and Mike had talked it over, and he reminded me of a few things that I had totally forgotten. But there was a lot of things that contributed to that. Both me and Mike were both guilty of doing wrong things. There's no doubt about it. And it's just, it got to the point where when you're so broke all the time and you're driving 2,000 miles a week in a car, and they're basically humiliating you in the ring. They're not letting you do your thing. They're just making jokes out of you. It starts to affect your psyche, and it starts to affect how you feel about each other. And we started actually not liking each other. It started getting real heated between each other. So then I ended up hooking up with some stupid rat, which I'll regret that till the day I die. But and she knew exactly how to manipulate me. Here's a guy coming fresh out of a marriage who had never ever even thought of cheating on his wife, and now I got this rat who's manipulating my mind, telling me all kinds of stuff like, "Oh, you need to get away from Mike. You're doing all the work, and he's getting all the money," and just stupid shit, like which. After a while, you keep hearing it and hearing it and hearing it, you start believing it. And eventually, we just got to the point where we really didn't like each other anymore. And I just, we got our walking papers, and he went back to Milwaukee, and I stayed down in Memphis because there was no work up in Milwaukee. Up north, wrestling was basically dead. And down south, there's always work. You can work 5-6 nights a week. You won't make no money, but you can work,
Yeah.
So that's basically what happened. Is had we never went to USWA, that would have been the biggest blessing we could have ever had. But we thought that was a place to go, and it turned out to be really the destruction of the Texas Hangman.
Right. And I guess after you two have had a bit of a falling out here, You're no longer going to be a Texas hangman. You're going to go out and try to do something different. How was that with you and Mike trying to, talk about how to go forward? Obviously, he wanted to continue doing the Texas hangman, but now you've come up with doing something else. Is that right?
Right. Okay. Mike went back home to Milwaukee, and I was in Memphis, and I'm working the circuit, the indie circuit, and so I just decided I don't want to be judged. See, me and Mike had both got ourselves into some political bullshit in USWA when we were the hangman, and I didn't want to be. I just decided I didn't want to be judged because when you're a tag team, if one guy fucks up, they judge you as both guys fucked up. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They don't say, well, so and so messed up, but this guy's all right. He's cool. That's not how it goes. If I didn't want to get judged for somebody else's mess ups or bad decisions or whatever. I wanted to be kind of in charge of my own thing, and I just thought it was a better business decision. So then I just decided I'm gonna give this a go on by my own, because now I'm a little bit seasoned. I've been on the road for a couple of years. I know the game, so I figured I don't have to have a tag partner anymore to feel secure on the road, even though that was the dumbest decision I ever made. But and I still could kick myself in the nuts for doing it, but I did it. And you can't look back at it. You just got to look forward.
Absolutely. No, I completely understand. So I wanted to bring it to 1995. You go to Extreme Championship Wrestling. So to me, that's, quite a change from USWA. And you're doing a bit there with, from my research, I believe you're doing a little bit with Ian Rotten or
correct. In fact, what happened was let's see. Okay. I go through a divorce, obviously, because here I am. I'm shacking up with some rat down in Memphis, Tennessee. And my poor wife is sitting up in Milwaukee wondering what's going on. And then finally she calls me and says, "Hey, what's going on?" And I told her, and she said, "Well, obviously we need to get a divorce." And I said, "Yep, you're right." And it was a pretty amicable divorce, which thank God she was such a sweetheart, because she realistically should have took me to the cleaners for being an asshole. But I lost train of thought. What were we talking about now?
When you went to ECW.
Oh yeah. Then then I'm back. I moved back to Milwaukee after this is a couple years later, actually. So I moved back to Milwaukee because me and the rat, I don't even want to say her name, me and the rat split ways, and she just destroyed me. I mean, I was on the verge of committing suicide, and the whole ball of wax. I was a mess. I was just a belligerent idiot. So I went back to Milwaukee to be with my parents and be in some friendly surroundings, my friends and my gym and things like that, to try to get my head back together, because I was psychologically a basket case.
Right.
So, but then Ian Rotten, who I had met in USWA, was starting up a thing called IWA. And he called me and said, hey, brother, I'm going to start IWA up. Would you come down and be my booker? Help book. And I said, yeah, sure. Why not? I got nothing really going on. So I was kind of making the drive back and forth every week, because they ran on Thursdays. And I was making the drive. And then I want to say it wasn't very long, probably a month or so. And I stopped making the drive, and I just started staying down there. And so I'm staying down there. And then because him and Axel were very successful in ECW. They got the tag team of the year by the PWI. They did some crazy stuff that the wrestling world had never seen before. So Axel, for some reason, decided to take a walk on ECW, and he needed to find somebody that would do what Axel would do. And so we had become friends, and we had worked a few of these hamburger matches together, and he liked my style, and he asked me to come out there with him. So I went out there with him, and then we started the feud between me and him.
Awesome, man. So it must have been pretty different for you to be doing matches of this style. I believe I read that you did Type A death matches with the broken glass on the fists and all that stuff. How did you adapt to that environment?
Well, first of all, let me step back a little bit here. Paulie Dangerously, I knew him from AWA because he had come in with Midnight Express, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, he came into AWA with Midnight Express, and for some reason, me and Paul hit it off in the locker rooms, just by just chatter and just talking and laughing, and so I think that helped me get into ECW when Ian told him he was bringing me. Yeah. So, anyways, we got over there, and to adapt to the style. Well, let me put it to you this way. Thank God there was that style, because we usually had the number 4 slot. We were usually the 4th match in the show, and the 3rd match almost always was either Benoit Guerrero or Benoit Malenko or Guerrero Malenko and to throw Too Cold Scorpio in there, and guys that could work amazing, So there's no way in hell I was going to try and grab a hold or run a spot after following them guys, because you got laughed right out of the building,
Yeah.
So thank God we had the hamburger match to fall back to. I just call them hamburger matches because all the people care about really is they want to see blood.
Yeah.
How you do it, they don't really care. All they want to do is see blood pumping out of your head, and they're happy. The vampires in the crowd are happy then.
Absolutely. So you didn't mention this to me, but I was speaking to Mike not long ago, and he said that you had a good Sandman story.
I got a couple of Sandman stories. Sandman, I wish Mike would have told you a little bit more, and you could have given me a hint on which one, because I've got a couple of Sandman stories. Sandman is not a nice guy. All right, it depends. It depends on a daily basis which Sandman you get. I mean, if you get Sandman when he's snorted an 8-ball and drank a case of beer, you can probably deal with him. He's okay. But if he's totally stone cold sober, he's kind of a dick. So that's do you know who Tommy Rich is?
Yes.
Tommy Wildfire. I used to laugh at Tommy because Tommy was kind of the same way. If Tommy had if he had a case of beer in him, you'd go out there and work with him and he wouldn't touch you. You'd have a great match. Tommy was stone cold sober. He'd knock the dog shit out of you. He'd be like, what the fuck, dude? But I hope saying shit and fucking stuff isn't.
No, that's fine. We're Australians, so we're used to saying shit and fuck. So
okay. I could say piss off and wanker and stuff, or is that the wrong country too?
No, that's the right country as well.
All right. So anyways, I got a couple Sandman stories, but I'm sure I'm going to tell you the one that he doesn't want me to tell. He's probably got a real good one in his brain that I've told him, and I can't. I've thought about it and I can't remember. So, the best Sandman story I can remember is I'm working Sandman in a place called. Anyway, it's after some Olympic athlete. I can't remember his name, but it's up like in the mountains of Pennsylvania, and crazy crowd. They're total rednecks. So, and they're pumped up for this like you can't believe. So, anyways, I'm working Sandman, and Paul E tells me, he goes, "Now, Bull, go out there and give him your shit, and don't let him take over on you, and make sure you get your stuff in it. It's a 50-50 match until the finish." I said, "Okay, fine." Well, Nancy Benoit is working with him as his manager, and every time Sandman throws me out of the ring. Nancy hits me with that kendo stick. Well, believe it or not, Nancy would whoop your ass with that kendo stick. I mean, there was no work there. She hit you with that stick, it fucking hurt.
Yeah.
And by probably 3/4 of the way through the match, I had enough of that fucking kendo stick. Girl or not, if you hit me like that again, I'm going to do something to you. So anyways, I went in the ring and I told Sandman, I said, if you don't tell her to stop hitting me with that kendo stick, I'm going to stuff it up her ass, because she hit me across the face with it. It was just reckless abandonment where you could get hurt.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I don't mind bruises and some welts and stuff, but I don't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
So anyways, they somehow related to her, and he got all upset with me. And then, of course, Sandman decided to be the hero and decided it was his turn to unleash some pain with the kendo stick. And then, of course, we fought all the way back to the back, and it was pretty much a half shoot. And
wow.
They had to pull us apart in the back, and it was ready. It was going to go, because the crazy thing was, I remember I had Sandman by the throat, and I had him up against there was like a rail, because we were on like a balcony, but it was on the outside. So it was a balcony, but if he'd have fell over that rail, or that rail would have broke, he would have fell like 300 feet to his death, because it was, like I said, way up in the mountains.
Right.
So, yes, Sandman is a different kind of guy. And then I met him in WCW, where they brought him in as Hack, which this is kind of funny. It must have been his first or second TV, and they had me working him, and he was like, "Oh, good, I'm working with you, Bull. We'll have a good match." And I said, "Okay, fine." And we talked about it a little bit, and we went out there and had a really good match. Well, the funny thing about it was, when he went to the ring, he was wrapped in barbed wire.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what he thought, but when they announced him and he tried to get out of that barbed wire, he couldn't get out of it.
Right.
And you can see him struggling to get out of the barbed wire, and it's tearing him up, and he can't get out of it, and it's tearing him up. So of course I'm on the other side of the ring laughing my ass off, because what dumbass wraps themselves in barbed wire and can't get out, Especially on TV. How horrible is that?
Absolutely.
So that was kind of funny.
Yeah, that is funny. So Bull, at this stage, I need like a 30-second break. I need to go to the toilet.
Okay, cool.
I'll be with you in a second.
What you need, buddy? Oh, okay.
What the hell are you doing here anyway?
I'm talking to somebody.
Huh?
I'm talking to somebody.
What are you doing at home? Hell,
oh, yeah.
You all right?
All good, brother. How are you? Oh, this is amazing.
Well, sorry to interrupt your phone call, man.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine, brother.
Take care of yourself. Stay healthy.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye now.
Much appreciated, buddy. Hello. Hello.
Thanks for that, bro. Really needed that.
Oh, did you take a leak or something?
I did. I've had a little bit of red wine, so I.
Oh, that's right. It's late at night for you, right?
It certainly is. Okay. ECW. You have this thing with Ian Rotten there. It's a great little feud between the two of you. A lot of bloodshed. What leads to Bull Payne leaving ECW?
Actually, what happened was, I think Paul Lee set this up. Was for some reason, Paul Lee wanted Ian out of there.
Right.
And I think what started the whole thing was one of the WrestleManias was coming up. I don't remember quite which one, but one of the WrestleManias were coming up, and we were working in Philly, and me and Ian were working, and we were on before Cactus Jack because he wasn't a Mankind yet. He was still Cactus Jack in ECW.
Yeah.
And Ian said, "Oh, we're going to use thumbtacks," and I said, I don't think we ought to do that. That's kind of Jack's gimmick, ain't it? He goes, "Why is it Jack's gimmick?" I said, "Because that's what Jack's been doing in Japan with him and Funk for the last year or whatever."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah, well, they've never done it in the United States, so we'll be the first ones to do it in the U.S." I go, "You might want to talk to Jack about that." Okay. So he goes and talks to Jack about it, and I'm standing there, and Jack's not really saying don't do it, but I can see he doesn't like it. So I'm telling myself, surely to God, he sees he doesn't want us to do this, so we're not going to do it. Well, anyways, like I said, it was a show right before WrestleMania, so there was a shitload of Japanese photographers there. They were all over the place, and we were doing a weapons match, I believe. Me and Ian. They were taking all kinds of pictures, and we were getting all gory and bloody and doing all the good stuff. And then for the finish, I was supposed to hit him with a big frog splash off the top.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Well, he goes over to the corner, and I didn't know it, but he brought a bag of thumbtacks with him.
Oh, no.
And he dumps them all over the ring.
Yeah.
Okay. So then he had stopped me, and I was sitting in the corner, and he dumps them all over the ring, and I'm going, "Oh God, no, we're not doing this." Sure enough, we're doing it. So he says, "Cut me off and slam me." Or no, cut me off and DDT me in the thumbtacks, then hit me with a frog splash and the thumbtacks, and that'll be the finish. I go, "Dude, you realize we're going to get buried in heat. By the time we get back to the dressing room, we're going to be the most hated guys in the dressing room."
Yeah.
He goes, No, we'll be all right. The people are going to pop. The Japanese will pop for it. I said, all right. So I hit him with the DDT. The Japanese, and then hit him with the big frog splash. 1, 2, 3, finish is done. We go to the back. Well, it's complete silence when we go in the back, which is never a good thing.
Oh, gosh.
It's almost worse than getting yelled at. Complete silence.
I'll tell you one story. When I would come home from school, I would walk through the front door, and if the television was on mute, I knew that I was in trouble. My mum specifically did that. The TV, why not just turn off the TV? No, the TV was on mute. Now I knew I was in trouble. So that's kind of my comparison to your story.
Time for an ass whooping. Well, we get to the back, and needless to say, it's quiet. There's nobody saying good match. Hey, that was a hell of an angle. Nobody's saying anything. We're both all bloodied up and mangled. And I already knew. I said, we're fucked. So I'm getting dressed and stuff. And Ian goes to get our pay. And for some reason, instead of envelopes, Paulie just gives him 2 checks written out, and he gives them to him. And mine's like $300 more than his. So he loses his shit.
Yeah.
He's thinking, I'm Ian Rotten. How come he's getting paid more than I'm getting paid? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm the one who, I made this company. I did all this stuff. Blah, blah. And, he's going off in the back.
Wow.
And Paulie comes back there, and he starts ripping into Paulie's ass. Now, he's ripping into Paulie's ass in front of everybody. Everybody's there.
That's not
good. Which is, you can't yell at the boss in front of everybody.
No.
He's not going to sit there and take it. So Paulie basically tells him, shut the fuck up, or you're out of here. Well, he keeps running his mouth. Finally, sure enough, he says, get the fuck out. You're done.
Wow.
All right. So then Ian turns on the waterworks, because Ian Rotten can cry on a dime. You ask him to cry, he can cry. So he turned on the waterworks and crying, and he's crying at Cactus Jack, saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you.
Gosh,
Please talk to Paulie. And well, obviously that didn't work. And then I got a couple more bookings after that. And then that was pretty much the end of they really never gave me a reason why I was done. They kind of just faded me out.
Oh, I see. Well, Jesus Christ, Ian.
Well, it was just a bad business move.
Yeah. Silly.
I mean, why would you do that? And I told him, I said, dude, you can't do this. It's not going to get over. We'll be the first to do it in America. It doesn't matter. It's his gimmick, but
yeah.
It happened, brother.
So that happens. What's your next step? I know Big Japan is something that takes place shortly afterward.
Well, let's see, ECW, IWA. Well, Big Japan's already. Big Japan, I think. Is Big Japan? Yeah, Big Japan is actually. Yeah, you're right. Big Japan's around there somewhere.
Yeah.
Then I start going to Big Japan, and it was going really well in Big Japan. They really liked me. My first tour in, it was me and Sabu. I want to say Jason Knight, but I can't quite remember. There wasn't a lot of Americans. There was only like 3 or 4 of us. And Dancing with Wolves Dudley was one. And
yeah.
I can't remember the other one. Unfortunately, I'll try and think of it. But
I'll see if I can find anything in my research. But yeah.
The funny thing is, I knew of Sabu because he had come through USWA as Sabu the Jungle Boy with his best buddy who did some sort of like a hangman gimmick. He was a cowboy with a hangman's noose and something like that, Big Tex or something like that, and the Jungle Boy Sabu or something like that. Anyway, so I knew of him.
Yeah,
I knew of him, and I remember meeting him at the airport and in Japan. And he said, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Sabu." And I say, "Hey, nice to meet you, brother." Blah blah blah. And he goes, "I think you and I are going to be working quite a bit." And I said, "Great, sounds great." So I don't know if you know Sabu, but Sabu is a spot wrestler. Okay, he's very much a spot wrestler, and he can probably do 20 different spots in a match. Okay, and I'm like, if you can call it, I can do it. I can't remember all that. There's no way. If you want me to remember all that, I'm going to forget my character, and all I'm going to be doing is like a robot walking through all the spots.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's not going to work. So I'm trying to tell him, I said, look, dude, I work, you call it in the ring. You want me to remember all this? It's just impossible.
Yeah.
He goes, okay, well, let's set up 2 spots. And so we set up 2 spots. And I had seen some of Sabu's matches on video somewhere. So I kind of knew what he did anyways. So I was able to, ad-lib a lot out there with him because I kind of knew what he was going to do. So I would just set myself up for his stuff. But anyways, I think I worked him like 6 or 8, maybe 10 times on that tour. So by the end of it, we had a pretty good array of spots set up, and I could remember them because I had done them a couple times, But at first, it was very difficult. But I remember one time he hit me with something. He had control of my arm or something. He was in control of me. He said, "I'm gonna start beating on you." He said, "Spin around and hit me with a clothesline." He said, "Take my fucking head off." I said, "Okay." So he hit me with a couple things and a big kick to the face or something, and I spun around and I tore his fucking head off. That's what he asked me to do, right?
Yeah.
So needless to say, I look down and I go to pick him up from the mat, and he's looking at me clear as day, and he says to me, "Could you have hit me any fucking harder?" I said, "Well, you asked me to do it, brother." So that was the beginning of our friendship. And I love Sabu to death. I've never had a bad match with him. He's a great guy. And even when he's all gimmicked up and you can't even understand a word coming out of his mouth, he can still outwork, 99% of the guys.
Absolutely, man.
He's an amazing individual, and his pain threshold has got to be the most the highest I've ever seen in my lifetime. Anyways, I mean, I worked him one time, dude. He had a broken back.
Crazy.
And I think it was an ECW too, brother. We're working, and or he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, man, I got a broke back, so don't bump me around too much." I go, I'm thinking to myself, bump you around? I'm not fucking touching you. I don't want to be the guy that puts Sabu out of the business, you know?
Yeah.
So I say to him, I said, Sabu, when you get in the ring, I'm going to attack you, and I'm just going to give you one bump where you lay on the mat, and just stay there. Don't get up. I'll do all the rest of the work. So what I did, I jumped him from behind. He did I think we did some little spot duck or clothesline, whatever. And finally I caught him and I gave him a side suplex and I laid him down as best as I could flat so it wouldn't hurt his back in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And of course, then I just stomped on him and dropped elbows and, splashed on him and stuff like that and worked the crowd. And all he had to do was lay there. And then at the end of it, I'm sure I put him over. I can't remember how, but I'm sure I put him over. But I was not going to be the guy that was going to just, put Sabu out of business, because at that time he was hot as a pistol, dude. I mean,
oh, absolutely. He had such a reputation, didn't he?
There's no way I was going to have that rep, because that rep would follow you for the rest of your career. Oh, you're the asshole that hurt Sabu.
Yeah.
Nope, not me. That's the same thing that happened to me. That's the same thing that happened to me, dude, with Jim Duggan when he first came back after his cancer surgery, when he had his kidney taken out. They put me with him, and I knew Jim, but I had never worked him before. And I remember, I'm going to treat this guy like a dozen raw eggs. I'm going to be so light on him. Well, dude, I'm throwing some punches on him, and I'm throwing the best working punches I've probably ever thrown in my career. Not touching him. Finally, he punches me right in the face, and he goes, "If I can't feel it, goddammit, I ain't selling it." Well, I threw that out the fucking window.
You were trying to do the right thing. You got punched in the face for it.
Yeah, and I paid for it. God damn it.
So 96, you're doing stuff with IWA Mid-South. In that company, you end up holding the television championship, the light heavyweight championship, and you held the heavyweight title 5 times. That's a great little run there in IWA Mid-South. What are your fondest memories of IWA Mid-South?
First of all, IWA Mid-South, bar none, at the time, probably had the best independent show in the country. For some reason, everything just clicked, and it was an amazing run with IWA. The guys that came, a lot of names came in there. It came in and out. So there was a lot of people that came in and out that, drew people, and it was a great thing. I loved working there. I've made lifelong friends there. It was some of my greatest times, some of my worst times, but I got nothing bad to say about it, except for, hey, it's a wrestling business. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad, and that's just the way it goes, But a lot of good things happen there.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It didn't dawn on me until today when I really reread everything that I'd written down. Wow, this guy was actually quite a big part of that company for quite some time. And look, the company is still around. It's 2021 and they're still going. So, it must mean, that company must be doing something right,
Well, Ian Rotten doesn't get the credit that he deserves. He really does have a mind for the business. He really, truly does. And if his ego doesn't get too involved, because he's a big Dusty Rhodes fan, and a lot of times, how Dusty would implement himself into angles, a tag team would get over, or a certain person would get over, and then all of a sudden throughout the run. Then all of a sudden, somehow Dusty becomes tag partners with him and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that happened quite a few times in Dusty's career, and then that happened quite a few times in Ian's career. But Ian had a really good mind for the business. He knew what sold tickets, you know, and I was kind of like the measuring stick for talent, incoming talent. He'd have me work the new guy usually that was coming in, and then he'd ask me, you know, was he any good? Did he suck? Was he, you know, whatever, you know? And sometimes I'd tell him right in the middle of the ring, I'd scream it out, "This guy's the shit," or this is good. This is good. You know, I had a lot of ups and downs in it. Like I said, I made lifelong friends in it, and some of my best times in my career was actually in IWA. Man, I worked so many guys that you would have never thought were in IWA.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I did look through your matches.
Ted Petty, you know, Ted Petty and
yes.
Ted Petty and Johnny Grunge, Public Enemy. I worked them like 10 days before they just signed their contract with WCW, and they were ready to go to WCW. In fact, this was the last indie booking that they had to take, that they had booked before they were going to WCW. So I was working Ted Petty. We were working in some building that had this stage that was really, there was like a stage, kind of like a theater stage. It was kind of off, and it was really tall. I remember it was like 6 or 8 feet tall off the floor.
Yeah.
So that was kind of strange, but it'll come into the story here. Anyways, so we're working, and I don't want to be the guy that hurts Ted Petty before he gets to go to WCW, because I'm excited for him. He's finally getting a contract. He's going to make some money, you know, the whole deal. You know, Ted's a nice guy. I've known him since ECW days. Very nice man. And again, one hell of a worker. So we went out there and we're having a match, and it's a good match, and we're on the floor fighting, and somehow we ended up on the stage. I don't know how we ended up on the stage, but Ted says, "Throw me up on your shoulder and power slam me through that table on the floor." I said, "No, I ain't doing it." He goes, "Yes, you are." I said, "No, I'm not going to hurt you right before you got to go to WCW." He said, Don't worry, brother. I trust you." I said, "All right." So I threw him up on my shoulder, and we dive off the stage. Now, I said, remember, it was like 6 or 8 feet off the ground. And so you're coming down, you know, and Ted's another 2 feet above me. So we're coming down from either 8 or 10 feet. And the momentum of the bodies and everything. Well, Ted starts falling faster than my body's falling. So I'm worried he's going to get hurt. So I wrap my arms around him and I pull him in. And when I pull him in, we crash through the table, and I'm never able to get my hands down, and my head goes right into the concrete floor.
Oh, man.
This is where I fractured my skull, and just breaks, just destroys me. Blows. I had like a giant vagina on my head. It was so bad you could actually see my skull. And that's the last part I remember of the match. We had a great match, finished the match, and I went to the back, and I remember laying there, and it was crazy because everybody was freaking out because I had such a big gash in my head. It was huge, and like I said, it looked like a vagina. And you know, back in those days, as a wrestler, you don't have insurance.
Yeah,
you don't have health insurance, and usually we would just glue shit up, glue it together or whatever. But there's no way that could be glued. So they made an announcement over the PA. Was there a doctor in the house? So an oral surgeon came in the back, and he had some stuff, but you know, so they filmed it. They filmed him stitching my head up in the back of the dressing room by an oral surgeon, where I definitely should have went to the hospital, because that injury affected me for well over a year. I remember for about a year, if I ran the ropes too fast, I'd get dizzy and just fall over. Or sometimes I'd be sitting in a chair, just fall out of the chair for no reason.
Wow.
Or if I was at the gym, if I went to bench, sometimes I'm in the middle of bench press, and all of a sudden the gym starts spinning like, you're drunk. You got the drunk spins, and so it affected me for a long time.
Wow. Yeah. An injury like that can certainly change your brain, change yourself.
Oh yeah, that's why I know I have some brain damage from it. There's no doubt in my mind. Like I said, it affected my motor skills too, because sometimes my legs would just stop working. I couldn't get up, or just weird shit. So for a good year, I was messed up, but stupid me, I never stopped working. I just kept working and figured out it'll heal. Rub some dirt on it, it'll heal.
So I wanted to bring the conversation to talking a little bit about WCW. I know during the 90s, I think there was one match you had with Johnny B. Bad on Saturday night, but
horrifying.
Talking about
that wasn't horrifying, but it wasn't very good.
No.
No.
Later on, you work with the Cat, I believe.
That was horrifying.
That was horrifying as well.
No, it was just plain terrible. Okay, here we are. Ernest the Cat's supposed to be this badass martial artist killer, and I remember in the back, I got my gear on, and I hadn't talked to him really, and I walk up to him, and we're talking a little bit, and here's this supposed killer, and he walks up to me and goes, "Hey, brother, promise me you won't hurt me out there." I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck? This guy's supposed to be a black belt, triple level black belt or something, and
three-time world karate champion.
So, yeah, that match was horrible. He had no clue what he was doing out there at the time. He ended up turning out to be pretty decent, but at the time it was pretty early in his career. And I remember the Sheets and PWI really shit on me for that match.
All right, fair enough. I do see in my research you worked with Mike Enos a bit. You worked with Conan Meng. But first of all, I actually want to ask you, how did it in 1998? How did the opportunity come about to come into WCW and work on Saturday night?
I was working the Chris Benoit Memorial. Brian Pillman Memorial.
Okay.
And there was a bunch of guys there. That's the one where Steve Austin was there, Mick Foley was there, Steve Regal was, a bunch of names were there. Terry Taylor was there. And me and Flash Flanagan were either the opener or the second match, and we really had a good match. And Terry Taylor, that's how I got booked. Terry Taylor saw it, and he really liked the match so much that he called me at home. And that's kind of funny. He calls me at home. He goes, "Hey, it's Terry Taylor." I go, "Yeah, right." He goes, "Yeah, it's Terry Taylor." I go, "Yeah, whatever." He goes, "What? It's Terry Taylor." Finally, I go, "Okay." He goes, "So would you like to work for WCW?" And I said, "Nah, I like making only $150 a night and starving. Of course I want to come work in WCW." So we laughed about that. And that's what got me in the door in WCW.
Right, cool. Well, that's good. So that's the Pillman Memorial actually helped you get a job there. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
So yeah, as I was saying, you work with a bunch of these guys. You work with Bobby Duncombe Jr., Kenny Chaos, obviously the match that you mentioned before where you wrestled Sandman, aka Hack. But there was one person I wanted you to talk to me about working with, and that was somebody known as Van Hammer.
Oh my God. All right. This was a spring fling or spring back.
In Club La Vila in Panama City, Florida.
Right.
Yeah.
The ring was actually in the pool.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember this.
It was floating in the pool.
Yeah.
Well, earlier that afternoon, Mike Graham was our agent for the match. And me and Hammer go into the trailer, and we're talking to Mike, and Van Hammer's saying all this stuff he wants to do. And finally, Mike Graham cuts him off and says, "Just listen to Bull, and you'll have a good match for a change." So, needless to say, that really pissed off Van Hammer because Van Hammer thinks he's, a superstar. And then he says, "Well, this is just when he started doing that high boy gimmick, the hippie gimmick."
Oh, the hippie, yep, when he was doing that thing. I know.
Yeah, wearing the tie-dye shirt and all that stuff. Anyways, he says, "Well, Eric, which is Eric Bischoff, wants me to hit him with 3 finishes." And Mike Graham looks at him and goes, "Are you stupid?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You hit him with 3 finishes. It makes him look strong and makes you look weak. That you had to hit him with 3 finishes to beat him."
Yeah, good call.
Okay. Well, of course, Van Hammer, with the IQ of a mud ball, doesn't understand that at all. So he's saying, No. Eric wants me to do 3 finishes. I'm doing 3 finishes." And Mike Graham saying, "No, do not do 3 finishes. I want you to have a good match. I want you to listen to Bull. And for God's sake, don't do 3 finishes." So
this
finally,
is like Ian Rotten all over again.
Oh, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyways, we're walking out of the trailer, and he pulls me aside and he goes, "Hey, Bull, we're not going to do that. We're going to do what I want to do." And I said, "Well, I'll tell you what, buddy.
Oh, gosh.
He's the booker. He signs my check. I want to stay working here, so I'm doing what he told me. Now, if you have an issue with that, you can go right, but we can go right back in there now and tell him that you don't want to do what he just told you to do." And then Van Hammer gets pissed off and just walks away in disgust. Now, this is like probably 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the show starts at, I don't know what, 7 or 8, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, this is when the show started, 5 minutes before WWF started. You remember that?
Yeah, of course.
So all the fans could watch WCW, or if they didn't like it, they could flip over and watch WWF.
Yeah.
This was during the Nitro Wars.
Yeah.
Well, so the day goes on, I eat catering and, just doing my normal stuff, talking to the boys, laughing, having ridiculous conversations and just giggling and stuff. And finally, it's getting time to get dressed. So I get dressed because we're the first match on the show, the very first match. So that means, which I thought was really cool, all wrestling fans in the nation are going to watch it, because WWF fans and WCW fans watched the first match to decide if they wanted to stay on that channel or go to WWF.
Absolutely.
So I thought, wow, this is really cool. A bunch of people are going to see it. So, and right before the show starts, they take us, we're all kind of standing around, and they said, "Okay, guys, the ring's in a pool. It's going to be a little bit unsteady, so be careful of some of the things you do out there. But by all means, stay out of the water. Flair and Mysterio are going to use that at the end of the show." And I'm thinking, great, because I don't want to go in the water, because I know the water is going to ruin my gear.
Yeah.
The chlorine and all that shit, it'll fuck your stuff up.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I didn't want to do it. So I was like, yeah, great. So now it's getting closer and closer and closer to ring time. I'm sitting in the chute, the gorilla chute, ready to go to the ring, and still no Van Hammer. And everybody's asking me, "Where's Van Hammer? Where's Van Hammer?" I said, "I don't know. That's not my day to watch him. What can I tell you?" So finally he shows up, and I'm almost walking through the curtain already, and all what Mike Graham says is, "God damn it, listen to Bull out there," and my music plays, and I go up to the ring. So that whole match I called the whole match out there in the ring, and if you watch the match, it's not a bad match. In fact, I'm pretty proud of it that it turned out as well as it did, because that was totally all on the fly.
Wow.
But the funny part was like I told you, they told us to stay out of the water, remember? And
yeah. Billy
Silverman is the referee. I love Billy to death. He's a great referee. We've had many laughs in the ring, I'll tell you that. But so we're working, and he throws me out. Van Hammer throws me out of the ring. No, throws me out of the ring. Okay, so he's a little rough, not that big a deal. I've worked with rough guys before, not a big deal. So all of a sudden, he picks me up, and he's literally trying to throw me in the pool.
Oh, why?
He's pointing to the pool, trying like hell to throw me in the pool. Even Tony, I can hear Tony Schiavone in the background saying, "Wow, somebody's going in the pool during the first segment. What the hell?" You know.
Hint, hint.
And I'm thinking, I'm hearing Billy Silverman screaming at me, "Stop him! Don't let him throw you in the pool!" So I cut him off. We do a little Zabida spot on the floor, and I bring him back in the ring, and we start working. And we had a decent match, and everything went good. And then, of course, I think he did the 3 finishes on me. I think I let him do them, but the last finish, he slammed me down so hard it just knocked me out.
Oh, shit.
But, it just totally knocked me out because I banged the back of my head really hard. He did something where it was like a full Nelson, and he slammed me on the back of my head.
I think it's a Cobra Clutch slam he would do.
Yeah, something like that. It was something to that extent. And, of course, it knocks me out. But when we come to the back, he's there. Are you okay? Everything all right? Yeah, fine. I'm not going to tell him he knocked me out. I'm not putting it over, So I remember sitting down, and I couldn't remember what town I was in or what state I was in. I couldn't remember anything. I'm asking everybody, "Hey, where are we?" They're all just, "Well, what are you talking about? We're in Florida." Okay. What town are we in? So it was kind of crazy.
Fucking Van Hammer. He owes you an apology, I think.
Van Hammer's too stupid to know what an apology is. I'm not kidding you. Van Hammer, the sad thing is he had the body, he just didn't have the mind at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, I used to always wonder as a fan, like he would be on TV for a certain amount of time, then he'd be off for a while. So they probably put him on TV because he had this great look, but then he would piss someone off and then he'd be off TV. It happened all the time with him. Like he was
right, and then of course he went crying to Dallas Page because him and Dallas were really tight because he ran a lawn service and he used to cut Dallas Page's grass and he used to cut Eric Bischoff's grass. So needless to say, that's what I got fired over was because I was once I knew I had to take charge of the match, I was very deliberate and I wouldn't say shoot. I didn't shoot on him, but it was very snug work. And he complained that I beat him up and that kind of crap. And Dallas Page had me fired.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was the end. That's my last match in WCW.
Well, I guess you probably worked several of those TV tapings because by my research, your final match was against Barry Darsow on WCW Saturday Night on the 11th of May, 1999.
Maybe I did work a couple times afterwards.
Yeah, there's a couple afterward. I think let me just go through this website here. I've got this website which has all your matches on there. You worked with Van Hammer on the 22nd of March 1999. And then after that, you work with, drum roll, Jim Duggan on the 13th of April. Then you work Hack on the 27th of April. And then Barry Darsow on the 11th of May. And then that appears to be the final match for Bull Payne in WCW.
Right. Yeah. You know what happened with the Hack match there?
Yes.
This was the second time I was working him. Okay. And and him and Raven had hooked up together. They're ECW butt buddies. And so I expected just to have a good match with Hack, and I'm sure I was putting him over because they were trying to give him a push of some sort. So I didn't care about that. But all of a sudden, Raven takes him aside and talks to him for a little bit. And before I know it, all what we had talked about has been thrown in the garbage, and he's going to squirt his valet. I can't remember who she was. She's going to squirt a fire extinguisher in my face, and then he's going to put me on a table, and he's going to splash. He's going to crunch me through the table. So I went from having a decent match to get totally annihilated.
Right.
And there was no time to change it because we were already in the shoot. We were already in the shoot to go to the ring when he called that switch on me, which was all Raven and him conniving together, And when he put me through the table, he landed on my shoulder, and my shoulder's never been the same. It hurt my shoulder pretty bad. And I remember I told somebody about my shoulder was badly hurt. And then I worked Duggan, which was no big deal. And then they didn't call me it had been like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe even a month. And I'm thinking, wow, I wonder why they're not calling me. So I started calling the office, and I finally, and you know how they just kind of blow you off. They call them, yeah, well, we'll call you back. Well, they never call. Finally, I get a hold of Jimmy Hart. And Jimmy Hart says, well, we heard you were hurt and that your career was over. I said, no. I said, I'm fine. When can I come back to work? And he says, I'll get back to you. And that's the last time they ever talked to me. I could never get through again.
God damn it. Yeah, that sucks. I wanted to bring up something that I found interesting. The 22nd of May 2000, yourself and Todd Morton work a couple of dark matches on the first one's on the 22nd of May, but then on the 19th of June as well, you work against the Dups for the TV show WWF Jacked. So you're doing some dark matches there. How did the opportunity come about there to do these dark matches in 2000 with the WWF? And what was the feedback like? And
I was working for a guy named Terry Golden, who was running a independent show out of Memphis called KAW, which was Kick-Ass Wrestling, which was kind of a throw off of ECW, where it was real extreme, but it still had extreme, but it also had still a Southern style to it,
right?
Where still some funny stuff and stuff like that. But then there was actually a serious side of it, and me and Todd were the serious side of it. And I'll tell you what, we sold out all over the place in the Memphis area with that show. It was we ran a place called the New Daisy Theater, and we sold that place out. I don't know how many times in a row before Lawler tried to put us out of business because we were killing his show, just destroying it.
Right.
But anyways, that's how I ended up getting the dark matches, was through there, because somehow Lawler got KAW to be God damn it, like the Power Center, like the WWF Performance Center.
Oh, right. You mean like the WCW Power Plant, the
right. It kind of so KAW kind of got to be like that, where a lot of guys that were coming up in the, like Ron Killings came through there through KAW,
right?
And so that's even, and Bruce Pritchard would come down there, and Steve Regal was down there all the time, and a couple other guys, but Bruce Pritchard was really the main office guy that would come down there, and he came down there a few times and got me the matches, but he wanted me to break up the tag and just go singles. He said, I got a job for you, but I can't take Todd. And and a dumbass like myself, I kept saying, no, we're tag. I'm not going to leave my partner behind, because I'd done that before and it was a mistake. I didn't want to do it again. And it turned out to be a mistake that I didn't go singles, because I'd had a job in WWF, because I turned him down 2 or 3 times.
Really?
Yeah, because for some reason they just didn't want Todd. I think because Todd was just too small. Because at the time, they weren't using small guys like they are now.
Right, and you wanted to stay loyal to your tag partner.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
I understand.
That's another great business move I made. Don't put your stock market on me, brother.
So I wanted to kind of fast forward to 2007 and talk about a company that I'm really fond of talking about because they don't get talked about enough, but it's Juggalo Championship Wrestling. It's JCW. I interviewed Too Tough Tony maybe about 3 months ago.
Tony's like my kid, man.
He spoke very, very highly of you. He loves you to death.
Let me tell you something about Tony. Tony is a tough SOB because I put him through the ringer. Brother, and he kept coming back week after week after week because we worked together in a company called Bad to the Bone Wrestling.
Right.
And Joe Bailey was the owner. God rest his soul. I love Joe. He was such a good guy. He took care of everybody, always paid you with your money. And if he could give you extra, he would give it to you. He was just a wonderful man. And anyways, he put me with Tony because he saw something in Tony that he was going to be good. And so he put him with me, and we worked together many, many times. So I look at Tony as like my kid, you know, because he was a young man. And, you know, I taught him everything I know. And then he went way beyond what I knew, you know.
Yeah.
Great guy. Super, super, super guy. I can't even praise him enough. He's that good of a guy.
Yeah. I'd have to say he's one of my favorite interviews that I've had. I think from the outset when I interviewed him, he thought it might be just another lame interview that he's probably done a million times before, but he was like, I've only got half an hour, brother. But he was having so much fun, that by the end he was like, oh, I really wanted to keep going. This was so much fun. So me and him really clicked really well, but he did speak very highly of you.
I love him to death. I love his whole family, and him and Madman Pondo had quite a good thing going for him in Japan there for a while.
Yeah. Definitely. They made a name for themselves. And
they called Baka Gaijing or something like that.
That's it. Yeah. So it's 2007 at East Side Wars. You attacked the big hero, Too Tough Tony. So you got a big feud going on with him. But at the first Bloody Mania, you were defeated by Too Tough Tony in a Louisville Slugger match, which is an interesting idea. What's it like working for the Clowns?
Working for the Clowns is like Puerto Rico, Mexico, and insanity all combined for the crowd. And working for them is kind of like they want to take it serious, but they still want to have a good time, and they still want to be able to make fun of it and make a parody out of it and things like that. You kind of understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, no, I get you.
They want to make people believe that wrestling is brutal, but yet they still want to laugh at it and make jokes. And I mean, if you ever hear the commentary on their matches, you'll understand.
Yeah,
because the commentary sometimes gets pretty ridiculous, but that's just their style. That's what they want to do.
That's it. Yeah. I found it interesting at Bloody Mania 3, you had a tough man match against Butterbean. What was that like?
That was hilarious, brother, because have you ever met Butterbean or do you know him?
I know who he is. Yeah.
Okay. Probably the sweetest guy you will ever meet in your entire life.
Yeah.
He is probably the nicest, genuine person that I have ever come across. And he's a stone cold killer, dude. Stone cold killer. And he's just so nice. Well, anyways, how it turned about was Butterbean is there and nobody wants to work him. You know?
Really?
Well, fuck, I'll work him. I don't care. You know, I never cared who I worked. I figured if it gets crazy, I got my ball bat. I'll just bust his fucking head open, and that'll be the end of it. Or I'll choke him out. you know? Well, needless to say, did I realize the man has no neck. It's like a bowling ball sitting on shoulders.
Yeah.
He absolutely has no neck, dude. If you try to choke him out, I believe it's physically impossible. I mean, it's almost like a cartoon. He looks like a cartoon when you look at him, really. So the choking out part was over. I looked at him. I go, well, that's not going to happen. So then I thought, well, if I have to, I'll grab my bat and protect myself and just get the hell out of there. Well, and like I said, he's such a nice guy, and he doesn't want to hurt you, and he wants to be as respectful as he can. And see, he had went to a school where I think Hogan was running it, and it was like a MTV thing. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
There was a couple of TV personalities involved and some other stuff. And
I think it's called Celebrity Championship Wrestling.
Something like that. And he was involved in that. Well, he really liked wrestling. And he thought he could get a career or some sort of a career out of it because his boxing days, I think, were coming to an end. So he really liked the wrestling part. And so he got booked with the Clowns and nobody wanted to work him. So
wow.
I said, I'll work him. I don't care. They said, you sure you don't mind? I said, no. Okay. So we're talking, and he's super nice. And I'm telling him, look, just listen to me out there. It'll be really easy. We're not going to do hardly anything because you're so big. I can't do nothing with you anyways.
Mm.
I can lay him down and drop knees and elbows and shit like that on him, but I'm sure not going to slam him, and I'm sure not going to suplex him or anything like that because the man is legit 400 pounds. And like I said, he's like a tree trunk. He's just so solid, it's ridiculous. So we get out there, and the crowd, Juggalo crowd is probably the most ruthless crowd you'll ever get in front of, besides the Philly crowd from ECW.
Yeah.
Okay, they're just very. It's hard to get them involved in your match because they want to make fun of you, they want to laugh at you, they want to throw shit at you.
Yeah,
they're not real wrestling fans.
No, they're not. No,
they're there just to have a good time, smoke their weed, drink their booze, and just make fun of the stupid ass wrestlers out in the ring.
Yeah.
So we get out there, and we do a little bit. Well, Butterbean gets nervous. And when a guy gets nervous, he goes back to what he knows.
Right.
What he feels safe with, So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he sticks me with this jab and knocks me out on my feet.
Oh, shit.
I mean, dude, he stuck me so fucking hard. And it was just a jab. So I can imagine if he would have hit me with a full punch, he probably would have killed me. I don't know. But he would have caved my entire face in, who knows. But anyways, so I go, holy fuck. So I bail out of the ring and I get my head back together. And when I'm on the floor, I'm looking at him, I'm pointing at him, and I'm telling him seriously now, if you hit me like that again, I'm going out to my car, I'm getting my gun, and I'm going to shoot you. and Butterbean's like, he doesn't understand what I'm saying, doesn't understand. So I repeated it 2 or 3 times, and finally I see his eyes get real big, and you got it? He goes, and he just kind of nodded to me like he understood. So then we went in there, did a little bit of stuff, and I'm sure it was horrifyingly bad. And then he hit me with a big punch, and I went down 1, 2, 3.
Right. Awesome stuff, bro. Great story. I wanted to bring it now. We're getting towards the tail end here, Bull. And one question I had was about your retirement from professional wrestling. The last match that I can see that you've had, maybe it's wrong, maybe it's right, the 6th of October 2016 IWA Mid-South 20th anniversary show at the Jammers Roller Dome in Clarksville, Indiana. Bull Payne takes on Frank Isaac Anderson, which ends in a no contest. Is that your last match?
It sure is.
And did you know it was going to be your last match going into it?
No, see what happened is, we're all getting older, and this was the IWA, kind of like a reunion show, and Todd Morton, who is like a brother to me because we've been up and down the roads everywhere, and he called me up and said, "Hey, brother, I'm living in Florida," and he calls me up and he says, "Hey, I really want you to come up and do this show." I said, "I don't want to do it." He goes, "I hadn't been in the ring in like 3 years." And I said, "I really don't want to do it, buddy." And he goes, "No, no, no. I want you to do it, please." He goes, "This might be the last time we get all these guys together in one room and hang out and tell jokes and laugh and, that kind of thing. And so he works on me for about a month. Finally, I agree. Okay, I'll do it. Well, the whole time, from the second I said I'd do it till the time I even got off the plane, I'm thinking to myself, this is bad. This is not good. This is not good. I don't know if I jinxed myself or what, but I didn't feel good about it. So anyways, I go to the building. Me and Tyler, laughing and doing our thing. And Ian comes up to me. He goes, "I want you to work this guy." I said, "Well, I don't know him." I said, "John, I haven't been in the ring in 3 years. I need to be in the ring with someone I can trust, someone that can work. I can't be in the ring with some greenhorn guy that doesn't know what he's doing. I haven't been in the ring in 3 years." Oh, he goes, "You've been doing it for so many years, you can do it in your sleep." I said, "That's probably correct. But for safety's sake, I want to work somebody that I can trust." And he goes, "Well, I got nobody. You're going to have to work this guy." And then a couple of other people came up to me and said, "Oh, no, he's really good. You won't have to worry about nothing, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Okay, whatever." So, and then anyways, this kid wants to do all this crazy stuff. I said, "Look, we're not doing it." I said, "I'm calling the match. You're going to listen to me. And we're going to get out of this, in and out of there." I said, 7 minutes tops. I said, "I'm not doing a bunch of shit. I'm just going to get in there, do my thing, let people see bull pain, and then I'm going home." Because I believe that every minute I'm in there is pushing it because of the fact that I hadn't been in the ring in 3 years. You know, I could stumble and break my ankle, whatever, because you don't have your ring legs on you anymore. You know what I'm saying?
That's it. Yeah.
You can't be gone for 3 years and then just think you can just step right back in and be just as good as you were when you left.
That's it. 100%.
It doesn't work that way. Had I practiced and I got in the ring for like a month ahead of time, possibly, but I didn't do that. So anyways, we start out the match, and I'm coming through the ropes. I'm not even in the ring. The match hasn't even been announced. He jumps on me and starts beating on me. And I'm going, "What the fuck?" He's beating on me. He throws me in the ropes, says, "Give me a clothesline." So I give him a clothesline, and then he jumps on top of me again. And I go, "What the fuck are you doing?" He goes, "Just follow me. Just follow me." And then, so it was real fast paced. Okay. Now you got to realize, like I said, I got no ring legs. So he's jumping on me, and we're doing fighting and craziness and silliness. And I go to suplex him, just a belly to belly, straight over,
Yeah.
And I hook him, and I said, belly to belly, straight. I said, straight over, just like a backdrop. Just take it like a backdrop. And he says, "No." And I said, "What?" He says, "No." I said, "Yes." So I started yanking him. Well, he sandbags the fuck out of me.
Oh, no.
Well, I got him about halfway up, just brute strength. Finally, I just had to and put everything I had into to get him over. And as I did that, I tore my quad, tore my ACL, and tore my MCL all at one time. It just popped. Everything all at one time.
Oh my gosh.
It felt like somebody took a sledgehammer and just hit me in the kneecap. That's how it felt. So I fall down, and he lands on his head, clean on his head, because I couldn't get him all the way over. Yeah. So I fall down, and I'm thinking, what the fuck was that? Because I felt the pain in my knee, but it wasn't like excruciating pain or anything. It was more of a pop, and my leg went out. It was like spaghetti. So
Right.
I thought, what happened? Did we bang knees or what? So I go to stand up, and my leg just will not work anymore. I go to stand up, I fall over. I go to stand up, I fall over. Finally, I just say, I'm done. The ref goes, what? I said, I'm fucking done. My leg is blown out. And he's going, no, that's not the finish. I said, look, you stupid fucker. I'm done. I said, count me out. Do whatever you got to do. I'm done. And that was the end of that.
Shit, that's not fair, man. That's not fair. It's
Definitely not the way I wanted to end my career.
Oh, they should have put you against Too Tough Tony. Come on.
Oh, exactly.
Makes so much sense. God damn it, Ian. I'm sorry to hear that the final match didn't go as well as you might have hoped, but, you know, all of your concerns were confirmed by the end of it, that's for sure.
Well, you know, it was disheartening, and it was hard for me to take because, I mean, I still haven't got my leg fixed, and I still can't walk upstairs, and you know, I'm crippled from it, you know, and until I ever get my leg surgically fixed, it'll never work, you know. So yeah. I mean, I get along fine, but it's definitely a hindrance for sure.
I understand, sir. So I've only got a couple questions left before our final segment, which it's a bunch of quick fire questions to learn about things that you like in life. But I want to ask you about the Texas Hangman's last match. This is Mike Moran's last match. It was a 6-man tag. He had yourself, Tough Tom, and himself. The three of you guys, for the first time ever, all three Texas Hangmen in a 6-man tag team match. Do you remember this one? And, you know, how did it feel to get back into that Hangman gear?
You know what? That was the first time I walked into the ring and felt like I don't belong here. It was really a strange feeling because the whole night was weird. The locker room wasn't like I'm used to. It was just really strange. I mean, Demolition was there, and let's see, Al Snow was there, and there were a few names there, and it just felt wrong. The whole thing felt wrong. I wasn't comfortable at all, and putting the hood on again was definitely a change because when you wear a hood, your vision is very limited. You have no peripheral vision, so your vision is limited. Your breathing is limited. You know, it's all something you have to get used to, and to do it for one night was I guess it was okay, but it wasn't a very good match. It was just it was kind of nice to be together, but me and Tommy sat there and looked at each other, and I looked at him, and he looked at me. He goes, "I don't even want to be here." And I said, "No, I don't either." So it was just something probably for nostalgia, but we probably shouldn't have done it.
Fair enough. I wanted to ask you, I forgot to ask you earlier, but how did you come up with the name Bull Pain?
Well, all right. Here he goes. Well, I'm full of bullshit and I'm a pain in the ass. Actually, from the Texas Hangman, we had bullheads on our boots. Okay. So I didn't want to have to go get a new pair of boots. So I figured, okay, the name Bull, that's a cool name. I'll use Bull. And then I don't know where I came up with the pain name, but so that's how my name came about, basically because I didn't want to buy a new pair of boots.
Perhaps maybe you were thinking about PN News giving you a splash, so that's why you thought of the word pain.
That's the way. Then I want to call myself Bull Vomit.
So, Bull, for any of you fans out there, fans of the Texas Hangman, fans of Bull Pain, what are you up to these days?
Well, I work at the #1 all-nude strip club in Tampa, which has its perks. I enjoy working there. My life is quite a bit slower than you would think it is, but I like it that way. It's nice and peaceful. I'm single. I'm not looking for anybody. I have a drama-free life right now, brother, and I'm enjoying it. That's, my day consists of going to the gym, going to work, maybe going to the wholesale club to get some food or something, and really not much more. I mean, I might go here and I might go there, but I'm pretty much a homebody now, really, and that's really what I can say. I mean, will I do something different tomorrow? Very likely could, but I like my life right now where it's not. Mike says I'm programmed, but I don't know if I'm programmed. But if you want, let's just say if you were a hitman and you wanted to kill me, all you'd have to do is follow me around for about 2 days, and you'd know my entire schedule.
Nothing wrong with keeping it simple, bro. Nothing wrong with keeping it simple. I want to keep it simple now. I get it.
Well, I'm kind of a minimalist. I don't need a lot of things. I don't need to have the nicest car. I don't need to have the nicest house or the nicest furniture. I don't need it.
Yeah, I understand totally.
To me, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Yeah. Now, if I had a woman, I'd know that you have to have the best furniture, the nicest bed, the nicest car. You got to spend every dime that you make, and you never have any money in the bank, and you're always broke. But now, the way I live, I have money in the bank. If something happens, I can pay for it. Things like that, So it's my life right now is very drama free, and I prefer it that way.
Yeah, I feel you, man. If all I need is cheddar cheese in the fridge and some ham and some bread and my video games and this podcast, and that's all I need, I'm happy.
See, being a minimalist is so much easier on the nerves and on the psyche. I mean, you don't have to wake up and go, "Oh my God, what am I supposed to do today? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." You're always in a rush to get somewhere. I'm not.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Last question before we get to our final segment, and it's the simplest of all questions. Do you have any regrets from your time in the wrestling business, Bull?
As in what, buddy?
Just anything. Do you regret not signing with someone, or do you regret a certain decision you made, or?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I regret losing my wife, my first wife, who was an angel, and I just totally fucked that up, by stupidity. And then I regret me and Mike breaking up because we had something special. And I really believe had we stayed together, we would have got a run in WWF. I really believe that because at the time they were very tag oriented, and I think we'd have got a run. I mean, let's face it, the Nasty Boys got a run. We could have got a run,
Absolutely,
yeah. And I regret not taking the deal when Tom Pritchard offered it to me to leave Todd behind and take the deal. I regret that too because of the fact that I should have used my head. I could have got up there and then maybe brought him up later.
Yeah, of course.
If I once I got a little bit of stroke in there or something, I could have said, "Well, hey, I got this great idea," because we did this. I thought we did a good gimmick where I was the big badass killer and he was like the little guy who was always like, "Oh, you're the greatest! You're the greatest! Yeah, come on, let's do this." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the big bulldog and the little puppy dog, that cartoon.
Yeah, it's a great dynamic.
Hey, what do you want to do today? You want to play catch? You want to do this? And we had some funny ass vignettes for KAW. It was funny stuff, brother. And I really think had Todd not been quite as small as he was, they would have bid on it. But then I also heard that Todd had a lot of heat with some of the guys up there. So, I think Jerry Lawler was one of the guys that was not very fond of Todd. There was a few other guys that had some pretty impressive stroke up there. So in those political days, you're not going anywhere if you got heat with those guys.
Absolutely, sir. So, Bull Payne, our final segment is called 5 Second Frenzy. And essentially the rule is you have 5 seconds to answer each question. But even if you don't make the 5 seconds, it's okay. But it's to learn about other things you like in life. There are a couple about wrestling, but they're just about other things that you like in life. So, Bull Payne, are you ready for 5 Second Frenzy?
You got to realize I have brain damage.
That's okay, sir. That's okay.
So instead of 5 seconds, I get 15. All right. Here we go.
Okay, 15-second frenzy with Bull Payne. Bull Payne, who was your favorite wrestler when you were a young man?
I liked a couple of guys, but I was a big fan of Ray the Crippler Stevens, the Crusher, the Bruiser, and I liked the tag team that was called, it was Hercules Hernandez and Red Bastien.
Cool, man. Your favorite opponent that you've had over the years?
Over the years, you mean through with everybody?
Everyone.
Probably Sam Houston. Me and Sam had a great run in global wrestling that unfortunately we didn't get to talk about, but global wrestling was a wonderful experience for me, and it really put my name out there nationally.
Cool, man. What was the favorite match you've ever had? If you could pick one match from your career that is your top, what would it be?
Wow, dude, I've had so many. Probably with Sam. Some of the matches I had with Sam were there. It was like a dance, and it was just we just gelled together so well that even if we fucked up, we could cover it up and make it look right. It was magic when I worked with Sam.
Cool, bro. Your favorite book?
My favorite book. Oh, wow, that's a tough one. Charlotte's Web.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, everyone knows that one. Your favorite TV show?
Right now?
Of all time.
Oh, my favorite TV show of all time. When I was a kid, I used to really love, there's a number of shows, but they were all kind of the same. I used to like with Wild Wild West. I can't remember the name of the shows now, but I'll say Wild Wild West.
Cool, bro. Your favorite film of all time?
My favorite film. I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan.
Yeah, cool,
and,
man.
I love the Django, and I love the Hateful Eight.
Oh man, two great movies right there. Oh,
for some reason those movies just get me going.
Yeah, no, I feel you, man. Like, yeah, I love Pulp Fiction, but The Hateful Eight was just such a great film, and Django. How can you look past how great that film is? Absolutely, I'm down with that.
When I first watched it, I was offended by it because all the N words. I mean, they said the N word probably 1,000 times in that movie.
Yeah,
and then I after I got used to hearing that, then I started looking at the quality of the story and the picture, and then I realized this is really a good freaking movie.
Absolutely, and I get what you mean. I get it's a little bit confronting hearing it so many times, but back in those days, that word would have been just a normal word with people that were like that. So,
exactly.
So that's just bringing truth out. You know what I mean? So yeah, I get you 100%. Your favorite food, sir?
I'm a foodaholic. I could eat and eat and eat. I could be 400 pounds easily if I don't control myself. But I'm a big fish eater, and I eat like for the last year as of October, it's a year now. I've been eating but nothing but fish, eggs, and rice. That's all I've been eating. I'm one of those guys. My wife used to get so mad at me because she'd say, "You can eat like a dog. You can eat the same thing every day." And unfortunately, that's very true. But my very favorite food probably is Italian. I love like lasagna and stuff like that.
Oh, well, if you ever make it down to Perth, Western Australia on holiday, I will cook you my nana's pasta recipe. It is wonderful.
Oh, I love pasta, but I just don't eat it for the fact that I don't want to be 400 pounds.
You don't want to be PN News. No, that's fair enough. Your favorite place to eat on the road when you're traveling on the road as a wrestler? What's the number one place you'd like to go?
Waffle House.
We get it a lot. We get Waffle House all the time.
You know why I like Waffle House?
Why is that?
I'm paranoid. I don't go to restaurants. I bet you I haven't eaten in a restaurant except for on very select occasions, and I'm talking less than a handful of times in the last 5 years. I haven't eaten in the restaurants. I'm paranoid about them because of all the videos of guys used to show of people fucking with your food.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I like Waffle House because they're cooking it right in front of you and you can see what's going on.
Absolutely. There's only 3 more to go for 15-second frenzy here, Bull Pain. The third last one is your favorite alcoholic beverage.
I haven't drank since probably my early 30s.
Oh, okay. So, well, if you don't want to say alcoholic beverage, just something that you like to drink in general.
Well, you know what? I drink Crystal Light grape all the time. I drink that all the time. But when I did drink, I liked tequila, and I liked what's Puerto Rico famous for? Is it rum? Bacardi? What's Bacardi? Is that rum?
Yeah, no, Bacardi's rum. Yeah.
Yeah, that I like Bacardi and Coke, and I like tequila a lot. Those are the 2 things. And of course, I drank beer, but I never liked beer. I just drank it just to get fucked up. I've never liked the taste of beer. For some reason, just don't like it.
Fair enough. You like a Bacardi and Coke, do it. Yeah, very good. Very good.
Yeah.
The second last one here on 15-second frenzy is your favorite female body part.
Besides the obvious, I would have to say are we talking about like face or body?
Anything. What's your number one? It could be a naughty one. It's okay.
No, I'm a naughty one. A naughty one? Oh, my God. I would probably say my favorite part on a woman is, besides her smile, would be her stomach.
Yeah, I like a nice flat stomach. Yeah.
Yeah, I like a nice flat tummy. And if you got abs, that's even better. That will really put me over the edge. And if your belly button is pierced, boner city.
Awesome, man. I'll tell you what, there was a women's wrestler in WWE called Eva Marie. She has the best stomach I've ever seen of any.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
You know who I'm talking about. Yep, of course you do. Yep, she is. What a stomach on her, among other things. And the final question here for 5-second frenzy, aka 15-second frenzy, is your favorite curse word?
Motherfucker.
Excellent.
Tony used to laugh at me all the time. If you ever talk to Tony again, Too Tough Tony, we'd be working and he'd mess up, and as soon as he heard motherfucker, he knew it was time to go to school. He used to laugh at me. He'd say he'd judge the match by how soon I said motherfucker in the match. If it was early in the match or if it was late in the match. if we got a good match or not.
Awesome, bro. Well, we're about to wrap up the show now. And once I say we're clear, I'd like to ask you a couple more questions just off the air. But Bull Pain, I want to thank you so much for talking to me tonight. So many stories. I'm sorry we couldn't talk about global. We've spoke for so long now, but I wanted to cover as much as I possibly could. And if I didn't get to everything, I'm sorry. But honestly, those stories were so fun to listen to, and to hear about your journey was so interesting. And I hope you're really proud of everything that you accomplished in the professional wrestling industry. Even if you didn't get to where you wanted to at certain stages in different companies, you still should be proud, because Man, you did so much. You put your body through so much. And people like me from Perth, Western Australia, I know who Bull Payne is. And that's why I'm proud to have been able to interview you. And first time I saw you was in WCW, man. And I saw you walking out on Saturday night. And I'm like, who is this guy? I've never heard of this guy before. And lo and behold, I was like, just wow, this guy is unbelievable. So that's why I'm proud to talk to you here today, sir. And I know you've had a long time, but man,
that's some of the nicest
I appreciate
things somebody's ever said to me. Thank you so much.
That's fine, sir. I just wanted you to know that, because I'm in the most isolated city in the world. So if someone from this city in this part of the world appreciates you, then that means so many more do.
Well, thank you so much. That's wonderful. That's very deep in my heart. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. And just appreciate
you got time for one more story? You got time for one more story?
Go for it.
All right. Okay, Ming. You know Ming, Haku.
Love him. Yeah.
All right. Wonderful guy. I've traveled with him. I've ate dinner with him. I've wrestled with him, the whole deal. Okay. Well, this is a WCW story. Terry Taylor comes up to me and says, sorry, Bull, but you got they had a name for him. He's so-and-so today. And I go, who's that? I think they called him Boss or something. But anyways, it meant Ming. And I go, oh, no problem. I've known Ming for years. We worked in Puerto Rico together and traveled and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, okay, he's going to beat you with the goozle, which is that mouth claw thing or whatever he used.
The tongue and death grip. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I said, okay, not a problem. He goes, now, Bull. Now, this is Terry Taylor telling me. He goes, now, Bull. You're a big guy. You're a tough guy. We're trying to build you as a tough guy. I want you to fire back on him. And I said, fire back on him. He goes, yeah. Don't just let him beat you up. Fight back on him. I said, okay, if that's what you want, buddy. So no, sure enough, I don't get to talk to Bing before we go to the ring. Okay. And we're in the ring. And I lock up with him. I go, hey, buddy, how you doing? And he takes me in the corner. Now, this is a time when he had the crazy, crazy hair, and he wore the long pants with the big legs, and he was just destroying everybody. You remember that?
Yeah.
He pushed you into the corner and just blah, 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 just annihilate you.
Yeah.
Okay. So he locks up with me, pushes me in the corner, and blah, 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 blah. And guess what I do? What? I fire back and give him a big fucking chop.
Oh, no.
He looks at me kind of strange, and now hits me with a chop. I hit him with a chop. He hits me with a chop. Now he's getting frustrated. Now, Ming, I don't know if you know this, but Ming is a legitimate, very tough individual.
Of course.
Who, thank God, he's always been my friend. That's all I can say to that. Okay? He hit me with a chop so hard that I thought my entire rib cage had caved in and I was going to shit my pants all at the same time. It hurt so bad. It was like a hot frying pan hitting your skin. That's how hard he hit me. And his hand is as big as half of my chest. He just hit me and my whole body just went, I'm going, holy. And then he looks at me and goes, why you no sell for me, brother? I thought we were friends. Now I know, son of a bitch, I've been had.
Terry Taylor.
Sure enough. So then I knew from that point on, I said, okay, from this point on, I'm selling my ass off. So from that point on, he beat me around the ring, and I went out of the ring. I had him give me the stairs. I took a bunch of bullshit, and finally he beats me with the tongue and death grip. We come into the back, and everybody was circled around a monitor, and they're all laughing their ass off at me. And Haku runs up to me and goes, how come you don't sell, brother? How come you don't sell? I said, Terry Taylor told me to stand up to you. And all of a sudden I hear, Terry! And he goes running after Terry.
What was Terry thinking? He's going to get in trouble now.
Yeah. But even though I got my ass kicked from it, I think it might have put a feather in my cap because I was actually brave enough to stand up to him. So either that or stupid enough. One of the two. I'm not sure.
Well, thank you for the extra story, bro. I'll make sure that we'll put that as a special side clip on our YouTube channel. So that's fantastic. Thank you, sir.
Sure, buddy.
And again, thank you so much for doing the interview, man. This was so much fun. And, it was, I think, about 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, oh, I hope Bull hasn't forgotten. And then 10:15 comes and you reply and I'm eating dinner. And then I read the message at 10:30. We managed to work it out and we've had fun.
Right. I really wanted to do your show because I talked to Mike and he said you were such a good guy. And I had watched Mike's interview and I liked your style. And what I was really impressed with was that you do your homework, because there's nothing worse than doing an interview with somebody when all they ask you is, who was your toughest opponent? Well, what was your toughest match? The real generic questions. And then they want to ask you about a story, but they don't tell you about what. They just say, tell me a story.
Yeah.
And about what? What do you want me to tell you a story about? Did I masturbated last night or what?
All the older guys who are retired now, they all appreciate my interview style because I know my shit. I'm 33 years old and I'm a wrestling historian, as Frankie Lancaster told me. So
Frankie Lancaster.
Yeah, love him. Great guy. But yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna tell you, it shows that you respect us. And in the wrestling business in the old days, respect was the thing. If it was, the two things that were the most important in wrestling business was kayfabe and respect. And you show nothing but respect. And that's why if you ever need me for another interview, I will always be there for you.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that, and full respect to you, because look, I show that respect because you guys put yourselves through so much shit. And it's not just physically, it's emotionally, it's spiritually. You go through so much stuff over the years that you deserve at this stage of your life. If you're going to be interviewed by some random guy from Perth, Western Australia, you deserve to be shown a little bit of respect to your story, your life, your time. That's all that is to it. So,
well, I appreciate that, buddy. Because, the wrestling fan of today, if you're pre-2000, they don't even know who you are.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how many times on Twitter I've had guys tell me, "Oh, you're a has-been. You did nothing. You didn't do nothing in the business."
Disgusting. That is fucking disgusting when people talk like that. Like, I don't give a shit if you're at the bottom of the card or the top of the card. You're just as important as the people at the top of the card, because they didn't get there unless they wrestled the people at the bottom of the card.
Let me tell you something. Here's a quick story for you. Should I tell that? I'll tell the Adrian Adonis story. I was in AWA one time, and we were sitting in the back, and I was supposed to do a job for somebody, and we're in the back, and we're talking about it. I said, it's not important. I'm just a jobber tonight, anyways. Adrian grabs me, takes me in the hallway, and rips my ass, and says, "Let me tell you something, son. If it wasn't for people like you, I wouldn't have a job." That's how I started. That's how we all start. And that's how you learn respect and how to work. So don't ever put yourself down for calling yourself a jobber or a carpenter. And he said, in fact, I hate those fucking names. And he just really let me have it. And he said, I don't ever want to hear you talking down about yourself again. He said, because you are good at what you do and you make us shine like stars. And without you, we don't have a job.
Excellent. 100%, bro. I've had Dwayne Gill on the show. I've had Barry Horowitz on the show. Same sentiments. There's a reason why people are where they are, because of people like them.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Realistically, dude, sometimes I don't even like the word jobber because it's kind of demeaning, but
I don't either.
Jobbers were better workers than the top guys.
Yeah. Barry Horowitz was talking about having to work with the Ultimate Warrior. And Barry's a better worker than him, but he's going to make him look $1 million because that's
of course
his job.
He shined him up to make the big money,
That's it. Well, again, Bull, I've taken up so much of your time, but I want to thank you again for talking to me, bro. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the accolades and the compliments, because seriously, that brought a tear to my eye. Thank you.
You're welcome, bro. I want to do that for people. I want to make them feel that way, because what was all this for? You deserve to be told that.
Hey, it was a hell of a ride, brother. Let me tell you something. There are a lot of ups and downs and a lot of things I regret, but there was if had I not done this lifestyle, I would have never known what I missed, because this was an amazing, amazing life. I can die tomorrow and be a happy man.
I love hearing that, bro. Thank you again, Bull Pain.
All right, brother. You take care of yourself and God bless.
Thank you, bro. And thank you to everyone who watched here on the WZWA Network podcast. I'm your host, Karlifornia Infirri, the host with the most on the West Coast, and we will see you next time. Thank you.